to find a solution that works for all of Jamaica. It's not us against them. We gotta take down those barriers and resist the urge to be fighting with the people who should be allies. Jamaica Public Service Company is really an ally, a partner in the business of production and living
and nation
building. So this morning they're sending someone. It is Mrs. Audrey Williams. She's the manager in their media and PR division, and she's going to be talking about outages, how JPS handles outages, whether it is a planned outage or an emergency one, what we as customers should do when an outage happens, and the importance of the reference number that you get after you report or when you make the report. I spoke with someone yesterday who said they got home at 5 p.m. One evening to an electricity outage that continued until they left. She left for the following morning for work 9 a.m.
Whoa.
And yeah, she said she left after 9 and the power had not returned, or had just returned. Maybe, let us take the best, had just returned. That is for productive people and for if you have children and so on, when you go home to darkness. And we've had several meetings. We've had a few online meetings with persons out of the St. Anne area. And it's just like when we meet with people from South Africa. You see them just with the light of their device. And you hear, yes, they've had outages. So there are a couple of things that...
because that seems to be a normal course of life in South Africa where they are
outages. Yes, they say load shedding.
Okay. And the same thing we call it?
Load shedding. Yeah, well, it's the same thing. It's the same subject matter, energy.
You're shedding the load. Because the pool at that point in time...
It's so heavy.
It's so heavy. The grid. And the capacity to produce it is not there. So they have to take off some load off the system in order for it to continue to operate.
And do you know that they suffer from the same systemic post-colonial trauma that we experience here? It is uncanny. When you hear the explanation of what has happened with their equivalent of JPS, it's no different. In fact, we are better off.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have a system that was created to meet the demands of the few white people
and coloreds
and the high place coloreds. And then you have an opening up of the society.
So you don't really expect the other people to
the other people come onto the grid now, and it's the same infrastructure. And I'm sure and they get the same arguments are played out in their media, that the black people can't manage it, and so these problems that you're seeing is because black people are now managing it. They have large sums of money that can't be accounted for,
unaccounted losses in the system.
Yes, in the system, and they have also a high percentage of unauthorized use because they too
unauthorized use.
Well, you all say I must stop call it illegal abstraction. So when you see how the shanty town,
Mr. Producer,
you've all forced me. I had to buy a whole new dictionary for this show.
Oh my Lord!
But when you see how the shanty towns develop, let me tell you, under a bridge, you just see a lot of
I've been to shanty town.
What you call it?
South Africa. I went to a shanty town. Yeah, man.
We don't have anything like that.
No, sir.
Two piece of board lean up with something holding it up and a tarp.
Yeah.
And what I realize is you can just backpack into the city and camp. And your camp grow and 2 people join you and 3 and 4 and then it's 100.
You know, that is something that is becoming a major feature in the US now.
Backpacking and just
camping. If you go to California, they're going, all of these, you look and you go, really
informal.
Commercial, informal
settlements. And you can invite people to come and stay.
Yes.
Good morning, Nalini. South Africa says you're talking about load shedding in South Africa.
Yes, we
are.
We're talking about load shedding and all of the things that go on.
Well, I think as we move into times of greater stress with the cost of energy and what's happening with the war and cost of living and so on, we are going to see more frequent planned outages, because that's a reality. Yesterday, one of our callers spoke about feeling that we can't leave the US or the UK out of our planning. Well, let me be accurate about what he said.
No,
He
that
said we
was-
can't drop the Queen because we need the British pound.
That was Tuesday.
And it was Tuesday?
It was
Felt like
Tuesday.
yesterday. It's
Yeah.
ringing in my head.
Yeah, it still continues to ring in my
Yeah.
head in terms of
It's
the
just a-
misunderstanding that
right.
is out there.
Yeah.
In terms of how
It-
the connection that people have, you know. And I remember Patrick said, boy, you have to go on education.
Yes.
For the people, them,
We absolutely need to.
to
We
allow
need
them
to.
to understand what it means, because people still have that, you know.
And we feel like, well, the thing is, we are getting new listeners every day. So having said it 10 months ago, there are some things we need to continue to mention, because we addressed the issue of sovereignty, what it means to be a sovereign nation. We addressed issues of independence and interdependence. We looked at the system of parliamentary independence and the continued position of influence that the monarchy holds. And most recently, we've been talking about the wonderful opportunity to change our arrangements that came about with the death of the Queen. One, it seems we have all missed, because even bolder, more aggressive Caribbean islands
Antigua,
have only said
Bahamas.
we're going to do it soon.
Yeah.
But
We say we're going to put it on referendum the next election. When is
well,
next
the
election?
opposition has suggested
That we
or
put it
that
in
we put it
2022
on
on
the
the parish
2020.
council ballot.
Yes,
Yes.
which is an excellent idea, and all Jamaicans who have a heart for this should be standing behind a suggestion like that and pushing for it. And even if the government is looking like it don't want to do it, speak with the Electoral Office of Jamaica and see how private citizens could
Put it on.
get into use the opportunity of not the referendum of
Election, the parish council election that
yes,
is
and
very
do something. I know there is a way to do it. And you see it happening other places in the world. If you have a question if you remember, like I think in Florida, they asked a question about marijuana
Okay.
on their on the ballot. There are ways to do it. The question is
we have
just
the will
how
to
to
do
trigger
it?
it. Do we have the will to do it? You can put it on private citizens through some configuration. Could piggyback on the local the local elections coming up, and have the question asked. Even as I'm saying it, I'm thinking more deeply about it. Or other guest addressing the same matter of energy. Or other guest is Mr. Philip Alexander Thomas. I love the name Alexander because it's my dad's name, and it's my son's middle name and my nephew's middle name.
Alexander.
My father's Alexander.
That's Matthew's middle name
Yes,
also.
and it's Matthew's middle name.
Yeah,
So
yeah, wow.
yeah.
So the Alexanders, the great
The
ones.
Great one. Listen, man. Alexander the Great was a phenomenal military general and a conqueror of many countries at a very early age.
Yeah, because he died early.
Yeah. One of the things we miss, is how young some of these people who come down in history, and we see them as one of a kind, great men and women. I don't think we apply our minds all the time to consider that they were accomplishing these things before they even got to 20.
Yeah, that's true.
Nowadays, I mean, if you try to get your 15-year-old to do certain things, he's appalled
Saying what it is.
because
And
he's too young.
And I'm saying to them, no. I said to them, no. It's the same challenge that I have with my son. I'm saying, when I was your age, all of the things I was doing, I'm going, really? I said, you need to begin to take greater responsibility. I think is it a sign of the times, or is it just how we have progressed? 'Cause
Well,
we early learned to do stuff because we just had to do it.
did we learn, or did our parents teach us, or were we thrown in the deep? A part of it, Percy, is as people begin to live longer, certain activities are delayed. So now we say your childhood extends to 18. At 18,
adolescent.
yes, at 18 in earlier societies, people were settled with big families and had gone to war, and some were already widowed or widowers.
True. Yeah.
Because the life expectancy was so much briefer. By the time there are some things which history cannot teach us because nobody lived long enough to experience it. In my younger days, I used to refer to my ancestors as early woman.
What?
I said early woman wouldn't have known certain things because she was dead at 24.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's so true.
So you live past the span of knowledge which your predecessors have. And then and what has happened with us now, we are treating our progeny, not gonna call them children, we're treating them as children for longer. The longer we live, if we live to 70, we don't see our children as having any sense until they're over 30.
No, sir, me ain't know that.
Not me either.
Not
But
me
at the
that.
same time, if your 14-year-old daughter came home and said, Daddy, I'm ready to be married.
Make you go married.
Really?
You just have to give her consent. Under the law, you can't. She
Yes.
can get married if she wants.
You would say, go on
Yes, man.
with my blessing. You're so wicked, does she know? It's a good thing she's way past 14.
Yeah.
You don't have to risk that.
You have to risk that.
Yeah, we can talk bold when we don't have that risk. But look at a 14-year-old girl and you're despised as a pedophile.
That's true, yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
16, there's 16. Yeah.
in an earlier society, at 14,
They
she
would
could
be
be
mad.
running her house.
Okay, and that's so true, yeah.
Oh my gosh, if anybody tried to get me to run a house at 14. But, so, there's that. Anyway, we got distracted because of Alexander the Great. Who, what age did he die? I know at age 24,
yeah,
he had
somewhere.
already conquered
A
the world.
Yeah, a significant part of the known world.
24.
Yeah. I think he died early, like
Yeah, he
25,
died.
28.
Yeah, he died early. So Philip Alexander Thomas is going to join us this morning, and he is going to be talking about an innovative software which he developed, and it is being co-marketed. He's a Jamaican engineer, chemical, environmental, and industrial engineer, and he innovated and developed and co-markets a very innovative piece of software called Core Watts.
Core
Watts.
CORE.
WATTS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watts, yeah.
So the reason we've invited him is because he is an expert in the area of optimizing the use of energy through the application of technological innovations.
Using AI?
AI.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, that is a part. Of course, the software uses artificial intelligence to do its intuitive sensing and managing of your energy consumption.
What is happening?
Right. The premise of what he does is you can lower your energy cost, increase your productivity by optimizing the use of energy.
Okay.
It's a very important area, not just for the manufacturing and productive sector, but I think even in your homes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this product was developed for use in the industrial environment.
Okay.
But I am always rooting for the consumer, the small man, the little man. So I think it's good also in any business that you have. Wouldn't it be a blessing to know how $1 could give you the value of 10? Basically, that is the multiplication factor, which we speak of using on the kingdom principles, because our God is a master mathematician.
He's the God of multiplication.
He is the God of multiplication, right? So the principle that every iota of energy or resource can be compressed, multiplexed, optimized to give you far more value. And it is a principle that we have seen at work in technology throughout the ages. Just on Sunday, I think we were looking at I know we were looking for we had a talk about computer, and Lowell was saying, do you remember, not speaking just extemporaneously, do you remember the days when the computer took up a whole room?
I remember those were alive then.
Yet it did a fraction of the work that is done by a tiny device that is in your hand. Yes. The computing capability of these very small devices, it's very spiritual, because all of this is invisible. And when you think about what we call cloud computing,
where everything is in the cloud. Oh, I need to go up to the cloud to get my stuff.
I don't want rainfall and without my things.
Go up in the cloud.
Or rainfall and because the cloud melt, my things drop to the ground.
Yes, you know, I just think about it. About the cloud. Once everything up in the cloud, that means all of my information up in the cloud. So if the cloud start to fall, because he figured the cloud was
right.
Everything will come back down to earth. He said, no, sir, it's a term.
It's in a server in Panama.
Yes.
The cloud is in Panama in a room, in a high-rise building.
And the thing with the cloud and the technology is that if you are a hacker, you can break into the cloud, and a lot of people have been embarrassed by it. Like they put all these pictures,
the photographs,
in the cloud, and the person go and hack it and then holding you to ransom.
So the cloud is not impregnable.
Right, that's what is happening.
The cloud can be pregnated.
So I asked my son, to hack something.
You heard me say that, you don't. Yeah, he can. Yes. Oh, I forget your son is a computer whiz.
I don't want to. I says, but you have some companies. I think I was saying to Lowell the other day, like with some modern day cars, somebody can hack into your system and shut down your car while you're driving it, and you don't have no control over it.
Yes. Forget the modern day car. Think about the prosthetic piece in your heart. They can hack into the device that is in your body and shut down your heart.
Oh, wow.
Well, do you remember in the early days of microwave technology, they say if you have a pacemaker, nobody go near it while it's working? What do you think that was? Because you don't remember?
Because the electronics could interfere.
Yes. Wireless.
My Lord.
Well, I tell you, I have driven past some sound system boxes on the road, and the way that my heart reverberated with the bass, I knew if I stayed long, my heart would burst. So we're back to physics now, as in the laws of nature, that everything vibrates to a frequency.
Yeah, that's true.
And that frequency can cause it to separate, disperse, explode. So.
But that's an interesting concept, though.
Which one?
The external to you.
Yes.
Can interfere with all of what you are and be by just going to a computer, going to a place, hacking into it and shut it down. And you do have no control.
No control. You don't even know what it's happening. To all intents and purposes, it look like it's you doing it.
Yeah.
But you're back into our world of spirituality. And that's what is happening, What was hitherto understood to be the world of the supernatural had no logical explanation. Man could not discern what's taking place. Technology is now making it a reality. And so you have an intensifying of that jostle between what God does supernaturally and what man can do through his understanding of physics and chemistry. And so there are some things that used to be magical. You see it happen?
Because you understand how it works.
Now we understand how it works.
That is the same thing in regards to the spiritual realm.
Yes.
When you understand how it works, like Israel, was saying she went into the courts of heaven. Remember that?
Oh yes.
And they do it because that's where the ultimate decisions are in the third heaven. Because what happened there, that is where the conference was happening between God and remember it says
I'm advocating for a mango. I heard it fall.
And they were talking about he came from wandering around the earth.
God bless you.
Because they were in the courts together, and he says, "Where you coming from?" And he said, "To and fro." They said, "Oh, okay." So they're having a meeting in the courts, and they say, "You consider Joe?" Say, and Satan was saying, "Yeah, you can't say anything you want because you are no protection over him." So there are things that happen in
You have geofencing.
Yes.
You know what geofencing is?
A fence with this geo.
A fence called geo. A wireless fence.
Okay.
If you come near it,
Oh, you mean it?
They use them. They
mean like a screen, like you go into some place and there's protection. You go into
yes,
crackers. Oh, that's
yes, with radio frequency plotted to give you a shield, and it's invisible.
Yeah, you don't see it until it shock you.
Until it repels you.
You always see that on Star Trek.
Yes,
there's a force
field.
You can't. You try it.
Yeah, can't penetrate it.
Or you break it.
You go near it, it neutralizes every energy in your body.
Shut you down.
Yeah.
But I find that so interesting in regards to the fact that so many transactions are happening as we even speak in the realm of the spiritual. In the courts of heaven, decisions are being made. I need to know how to tap into it. That you can get what you need from it.
Absolutely.
That you can access it. And do what needs to happen.
So there and do you know, as in all things, this type of knowledge, which has been lost to most of mankind, was being cradled and nurtured and hidden and kept secret by those who had the power and the authority to do so, and now it's being restored to general. And it's like you can see the pattern. I remember when I first discovered the internet, only to discover that the military had the internet on the wraps for a long time. I thought, yes, this is a great blessing. Only to hear, it's like when Christopher Columbus discovered Jamaica and said, what? This jewel is sitting here. Nobody even knows about it. But there were people here
who were using it a long
and
time.
who, yes.
Trump discovered prime.
And, I think we need to put a mic on the producer.
Some other times.
Yes, because he's very involved in the show and we can't repeat all that he's saying. It's best he says it himself. But so we understand that this knowledge is not new. It was lost to some of us because we simply were not guarding it and honoring it and keeping it and passing it on to our descendants. But it is being restored. I would jokingly say to persons who would test me about what it means for God to act supernaturally and look at the march of technology, how technology is stripping away the mystery from certain things because man is now understanding more about the environment in which we live, and we are now developing the capability to manipulate it. We talked about this. I'll give this one before we go to our 7 o'clock break. Holograms are very common now. We saw a lady sing a song with her dead father.
Okay.
So I said, well, Moses and the burning bush.
I think it was probably a hologram.
The bush that burned and was not consumed. Hologram. Let's take our break.
I think it was a hologram.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276 8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us.
Pastor
forgot to
Percy, you
test
have a
the
word for
brain.
us.
No, it it is simply how the Spirit of God, and not the Spirit of God, just the unity that is the fellowship of the Holy Spirit, the Lordship of Jesus, and the love of the Father. Love of the Father, Lordship of Jesus, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit. All of those things work together to make us what we are today. And I just found that so very good for me. So all of those things are working in my own life and situation to make it happen. Jesus Christ is Lord over every situation. I have the love of the Father, which is the base of everything. And whenever anything happens, I have the Holy Spirit instructing the fellowship with Him that causes me to reign and to live in this life. I find that so fascinating. All of them are working in unity, such that I can walk in purpose and fulfill my destiny. You don't need anything else. That's why I hear a lot of people keep saying, with God as my back, I'm a majority, and God have my back. There's a popular song out there. God have my back. God have my back. So you can go, and as long as God have my back, I am good. I am moving forward.
Those are the actual lyrics of the song?
Something like that. God have me back. God have me back.
All right, I will challenge Raphael to find that one.
Yeah, God have me back. Yes, yes, God have me back.
Yeah. But yes, it is popularly said, with God, one man is majority.
Yeah, it is. In any
I mean,
situation.
his mass outweighs anything in existence.
Yeah.
So you plus God,
Yeah.
no contest.
And so you walk in that confidence in any situation. Yesterday was interesting for me. While I was on air yesterday, I got a call from Dr. Buckle. Good morning to Dr. Buckle.
It's not Buckley.
No, Buckle. Pleasant lady. She's our graduate student supervisor, and she's a vice president responsible for us. She called and says, "Can you go to this conference that is happening?" And I said, "Yes." And it was a nice meeting up with persons that I had not seen for a long time.
Oh, wow. So you did that yesterday?
Yes, right after. So
After
when
the
I
show.
went straight up to the Alhambra Inn. It's such a nice place, right across from the university. Not the university, right across from the stadium
Arena?
complex, the Alhambra Inn.
Yes.
But what I found fascinating is that there is this program, this project that's been happening for the last 8 years. It's the Child Resiliency Program, which is a program in which you have 5 feeder schools, Denham Town, St. Albans, Boystown. I think there are 2 other schools where they look for children that are in grade 5 who seem not to be coping, and they do an intensified intervention using sports, using life skills, and creativity, and they have the data to show, you call it the before and after the intervention, in terms of how it has impacted the lives of those children who seem to have been at risk and how they have just moved on. And I was so pleasantly surprised in terms of the intervention happening right under our noses, and we don't hear anything about it. And a big shout out to Dr. Kim Scott, who
That is one
yes,
yes.
who has been working with it these many years. Because remember, I've told you about a project that I have done in schools in Western Jamaica, and that's where I first met her. And she's soldiered on, and it has.
That
really
is wonderful. Dr. Kim Scott is a squash player as well. So tell me a little bit more about her project.
So it is,
and should we invite her one morning?
Yeah, we should probably
talk about it?
to talk about it. It simply seeks to work with the concept of resiliency, and the concept of being resilient is being able to bounce back under adversity. And she's done a programmatic intervention she had spread it out like in St. James.
What is the age group that she?
Grade children in grade 5, so that's like 9 to 11-year-olds. That she.
And it covers. It's not anything to do with her medical practice. This covers what? Intervention on the social side, education.
Social side, intervene in the lives of that age group who seem to be at risk. And
yes.
so working with the schools, the feeder schools, which is, it happens at Boystown on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
What are the kinds of activities they do?
Creative, they do sport, football.
Oh, Kim is a part of that project.
Yes.
When we went to Trenchtown, we went over to Boys Town.
Yeah, right.
And saw, and they told us about the project and that it was going to resume after.
Right.
Aha. All right. Yes. Yes. Trenchtown is in our group, of communities for 1660.
Yeah, Trenchtown.
Yeah. So we hit the road with that.
St. Albans, Denham Town,
yeah,
and other schools. So those are the feeder primary schools that the kids come from, and it happens at Boystown on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So they do life skills in terms of dealing with conflict resolution skills, self-esteem, all the things that make our children who are at risk to thrive, and they do interventions working with sports and the creative, and they do also things working with their education. And they've seen the information, it's there. If you go to their website, you'll see the parents talking about it, the children talking about it, and how it has impacted them. And one of the persons said, they are so used to my car. This is one of the guidance counselors.
Yeah.
And she was saying, they're so used to my car, but I sold my car to another teacher at the school.
Oh.
And people are seeing the car and say,
and
yes,
thinking
miss, and
it's
they come
you.
up close and say, oh, it's not you, miss. But because they have associated her with the car, there's so much love. People see her all over in the community. Downtown, one of the gentlemen, Ralston McLaren is one of the guidance counselors.
So, Pastor, you are saying that this lady is getting the benefit of some transfer love from your car to her.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So I wonder what the lady would say.
She was just talking about it, and it was.
But that's an interesting point you make. That if you, and again, just in the world of the invisible, the idea that the emotion that you feel for a person extends to the recognition you have for the things that represent them.
Yes.
And then wherever you see that thing, I guess that's what brand loyalty in the marketing world. That's brand loyalty.
Show her
if
brand.
you can. Your brand. She's benefiting from your brand because your brand included your car. So wherever they see the car.
No, it's her car.
It's her car that you.
Car.
I thought you sold her your car.
No, man. The teacher sold another teacher her car, and because the car is associated with her.
I thought it was you.
No. It's her car. It's her car. Sorry. It's her car.
I thought it was your car that you sold, and because they were
it's a
accustomed.
Red car, she said.
Yes.
And it's the parents, the students associated.
Anywhere they see it, they think that's their favorite teacher.
And she sold it, and they come and say, oh, it's not you, miss.
Yes.
And they're still smiling.
Right.
And all of that stuff. But it presented another opportunity for me. I'll speak to you off air about it.
But that is an interesting. Anyway, it's a known thing because people capitalize on it in marketing.
Yes.
They make you associate them with something that is.
And I'm saying, wow.
Good. And every time you see that thing, you now think of that.
Just saying, you know what? I want to do something, and I laud Dr. Kim for it, because she has soldiered on.
Let me tell you, man, Dr. Kim is a wonderful person, and I tell you, I'm gonna say something that I'd say it, and you give me your take on it. I believe that all Jamaicans from every ethnic mix are capable of rising to that same level of altruism. But it takes generations of living well and enjoying certain comforts before you become confident enough to realize that if I share, I don't lose.
I don't even think it's generations.
You think? Just a few years?
I think it's something.
The reason I said generations is because we have seen generations of people of African descent who carried the trauma of slavery as if it just happened. And some of them have had enough comfort in their own lives to realize that there is a path you can take to attain a certain degree of comfort and independence, where you don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and feel for your your watch or your phone or whatever thing you think is precious, and get up and look to make sure that they didn't take your children and carry them off to sell them. The point I'm making is we cling to things and we carry our suffering as if we are under constant and immediate threat from the same enemy. As a result, sometimes we don't even recognize the present day enemy, and so we can deal with him properly. Sometimes we see the present day enemy and think he's a friend, when he's really an even greater threat than the enemy of the past, because that one died and has been reborn in the new one. But let me not speak in parables. Jamaicans and their political representatives, we see a black man standing in front of us telling us that we have been released from the bondage of the white man, and we are now free and independent, and vote for him because together we who look alike are marching into a new future. I've just coined a speech because essentially that is what we're saying when we set ourselves up, beautiful array of black faces in their party color. You see the billboards on the side of the street and they look like you, and you say, how could that band lead me into the same path of the previous who looked very different? So that's kind of what you're selling, the idea that because we're together, we are one. But in reality,
that the other people did.
Yes, and I am there enduring a certain trauma now, and blaming it on the man who did assault my grandmother.
Okay.
And not recognizing that the man who is standing in front of me and saying we are one is worse.
Okay.
Is worse. So that instead of it being bred out of our system, it's being reinforced and extended, but not really because of the old injury.
But it's because
it's a new injury in the same spot.
It's a new injury in the same spot it's the same spirit but a different face.
Different face. Now the face looks like mine. Of course, I begin to hate myself in the whole process. Because I mean the face that looked like mine is traumatizing me.
Nothing good can come from black people.
And you hear those things, anything too black never good.
Yeah.
And now you have the enemies merging and causing you now to be confused about your own identity. But what I'm saying is I see a lot of good work coming out of people of mixed ethnicity, but in some measure it is fueled by the years of comfortable living that they have enjoyed.
I can understand. I can relate to the first part of what you said.
Yeah.
But in terms of the second aspect, in terms of people mixed, I just look at my mom.
Yes.
My mom was.
Is she mixed?
No, she's not. She's
so what are you responding to? Because I want you to understand my point.
No, I understand
and it's
your point.
born out of born out of who the individual we're discussing.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But I'm saying she's one.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of my mom who is black.
Yes, but I'm not saying black people don't do it.
Okay, right. So
that's why I wondered what you were, because my mother does it.
Yeah, right. So
I mean, I do it.
Yeah.
Me not have no generations of comfortable living. Right. I saw my father struggle and do what he did, but he showed me a path, and I know that I don't have to say, well, 20 people traveled this path and it worked. I just need to know that one traveled it and it worked.
And I can travel the path too.
And I travel it too, absolutely.
Altruistic in terms of my thing.
But you see, you might wonder, I know Jamaicans might see people of different racial profile, come to Jamaica to build house and you might say, why would I pick up myself, take 6 months out of my life, now make no money doing it, come into a strange country to make house
like humanity
for poor people. Or a lot of them are able to do it because they don't have a certain stress back home waiting to terrorize them. When they come home, the light turn off, the water not in the pipes, the landlord kick you out. They're not going back to that. So it becomes, I'm just looking at it and saying, it doesn't mean that white people are more generous or rich people are more generous. The truth is, whatever, if for some people what they give you, they could give you 100 times that and don't blink.
Whereas other people give, and it is truly a sacrifice.
And it's truly a sacrifice.
For them.
And
we see that happening in a lot of persons, the unsung heroes we call them, who do that because of something in their heart. I think it comes back to people's heart condition.
Yes, the bloody heart, as you were calling it. I read something in something that give them eyes. It's something about giving the heart eyes.
Okay.
And when I read it, I said, "Oh Lord, if Pastor and African got to discuss this one now, it would be a new level." It's the prophet Isaiah speaking about the heart having eyes so that it could see.
Open my eyes, Lord, I want to see Jesus. There's a song like that.
Yes, but this is the eyes in your face. The eyes of your heart are a whole different thing. When I read it, I said, oh, this one would cause trouble. Still, to close the week and what we've been discussing, I wanted to share this with you and with the listeners. This is the word of comfort that comes. By the time Isaiah got down to the closing chapters of his prophecy, he was now speaking redemption and forgiveness and love, right? So in Isaiah 54, verse 11, to the end of it, much is said that should comfort those who are afflicted. Afflicted city lashed by storms and not comforted. I will rebuild you with stones of turquoise, your foundations with lapis lazuli. I will make your battlements of rubies, your gates of sparkling jewels, and all your walls of precious stones. I loved this one now. All your children will be taught by the Lord, and great will be their peace. We worry so much about education, and rightly so. We want our children to acquire knowledge and to prosper through that knowledge. And as we look to this book for the kind of prophetic assurances that comforts me, for sure, I'm offering them to you. There is a promise that our children will be taught by the Lord, and great will be their peace. We can discuss what it means to be taught by the Lord. Many of us have been taught by the Lord. It is real. It's not just some, fanciful language out of the prophet's imagination. And then comes the part that we are working on assiduously. In righteousness you will be established. Tyranny will be far from you. You will have nothing to fear. Terror will be far removed. It will not come near you. If anyone does attack you, it will not be my doing. Whoever attacks you will surrender to you. It is, even in the midst of the hyperbolic language, it's acknowledging that whilst you are under coverage, you can be attacked. But it gives you the promise that whoever attacks you will surrender.
They will fall.
And the fact that God is saying, if anyone attacks you, it will not be my doing, is a recognition that yes, God will set up man to attack you. So to those who are, on the fence about, does God set things in motion for you to suffer?
He does.
He does. Of course, it is because you deserve it, but he does. Yesterday, I think someone had asked on the chat to ask you about God. Yes. And here it is in Isaiah. It is I who created the blacksmith. You know the one who make guns? It is I who created the blacksmith, who fans the coals into flame and forges a weapon fit for its work. The nuclear bomb, all of the different weapons of terror, mass destruction. Yes, the imagination from which it came. It is I who created. But then comes the promise. No weapon formed against you will prevail. Just comfort yourselves with that knowledge. And you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. And this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord.
Let's read it in the Amplified. And every tongue that rises against you in judgment, you will condemn. You will condemn. This peace, righteousness, security, and triumph over opposition is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. And this is their vindication from me, says the Lord.
Selah.
Peace,
all right, so 7:30 break.
Wow.
We move into it with a great deal of comfort. Welcome back, Pastor Percival.
Yeah, that was a very powerful word to go into the break with. A lot of times people see and repeat it. No weapon that is formed against you will succeed, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment will be condemned. Do you know, even as we're reflecting on that, every tongue, that even your tongue that rises against you in judgment will be condemned.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times what happens is that we, by the words we say, we condemn ourselves. And that ties in with the verse of scripture that says, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and you'll eat the fruit. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. This is their vindication from me, says the Lord. So even though you may be under attack, know that in the end, what happens? You lose or you win.
You win.
We win.
Do not give up.
Yeah, man, we win. And like as a bridge over troubled waters, he sends his word and he heals our diseases. He heals everything that is off track, off cue, brings a word, sends a word that lifts us up in the middle of the situation. Do you know, somebody shared this thing with me. When we do the Lord's Prayer, thou prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You know who the enemies were?
Your family?
Yeah, the family, the other sheep. Because if you look at it in that pastoral sense, it was the same sheep.
The same. Of course.
Sheep. Yes, because
yeah.
if you are wounded and the shepherd moves you away, that you can be healed. If they sense or smell, but they're going to be coming to do it, and they in turn prepare us a table before me.
In the presence, the very ones who wounded you and left you for dead will watch you have your feast. Yeah, it makes sense because who you're gonna be feasting with? Same ones. And you know, earlier when I was kind of bringing you into my head on this business of the trauma and how you are looking at the enemy of the past and thinking that the enemy of the present is really your ally, it is because they look like you, they sit at your table, they are including you in their festivities. And how would they get close enough anyway to deploy the weapons that they formed against you? They're the very people around you.
Wow.
And of course, that was Christ's experience.
Judas Iscariot.
Yeah. Don't get closer than that. Of course, these reminders are not to strike you with fear.
No.
In fact, it is to comfort you. So don't feel that anything special are going on with you because it's your brother or your sister or your co-worker or the person whom you trained and had such aspirations that they would one day be a credit to you and be part of your legacy. No, do not feel strange. It is the most normal and natural thing that's the person that the devil, yes, me call him by a name, that's the person who will be corrupted by the ancient human vice of greed, pride. They're gonna covet your position. I mean, let's face it, it's because Lucifer coveted God's glory
I want to rise up.
that the rebellion was instigated in the first place. So we must know that that's a recurring theme. That would be his weakness then. And when he moves into manipulate human beings, he's going to work on your pride.
He always does that. It's pride.
Yeah.
That's why pride goes before a fall.
I wanted to share this because we talk about reparations and so on, and it is a relevant and continuing conversation. I wanted to share this with you. This is what the Lord says. You were sold for nothing, and without money you will be redeemed. Sold for nothing. Man just grabbed you off the shore, brought you to a place. But there is a promise that you won't need to produce money to secure your redemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about reparations?
Well, we ask for reparations because we are asking the vendor to finally pay the money
that he should have paid.
that he should have paid
At that point in time.
We are saying, give us value for what you took. I looked at that scripture really to focus on the value in the promise that you won't have to find money to secure your freedom. And I look at it in a very practical way to say, okay, if I'm going through a difficulty which is confounding me and keeping me enslaved or keeping me held down, there is a path to redemption without my having to go and find money. Whether it is through the innovative ideas that I have, which come to me through inspiration.
So you don't have to pay for it.
I don't have to pay for my ideas; they are mine.
And but it will,
But
it will
in it
generate
will be
money for
my
you.
redemption.
It will bring money for you.
Yes, so that I can escape whatever circumstances
You have got to
enslaving
pay
me.
for it because the inspiration and revelation that comes from God is for free. You have
Right.
to pay for it.
And I'm bringing it back to that earlier scripture where he says, "Your children will be taught by the Lord." Um, we've been talking some about the wealth of culture
Culture of
and the culture of wealth, wanting to build in our own people the norms, the systems, the understanding of how you create and keep wealth.
yeah.
That is work that remains to be done. And it's work best done even before you acquire the wealth,
True.
because it keeps you from just being distracted into inappropriate behavior while you have the wealth. It's very difficult to learn about it while you have it. That's why so many people acquire it and lose it rapidly.
Okay.
But the understanding that there is great wealth in your own culture, that your culture can unlock hidden value, is something that we have been focusing on for some time, and we still have some work to do with it. When scripture promises you that you will taught, your children will be taught by the Lord, it's my understanding that he will give you the inspiration and the knowledge in matters that you've not had academic training in. You will be inventors, you will be innovators in the technology sector and elsewhere. And you if we can move in unity, can build something that represents great value for our own people in our own communities.
But on reflection,
Yes.
it is a return to the state that we were previously. If you reflect on Adam in the garden,
Yes.
and Adam was going about doing his work, but it would seem that out of the relationship, the revelation and the inspiration came that he could do what he needed to do in terms of naming the animals. When he broke from that, and God says, don't do that, because in that time when you cut me off from being your source, then what is going to happen? You're going to have to be dependent on the knowledge that you gain over time, when you can come directly to me to receive the inspiration and the revelation to do the work in the time. And that is something I think that has been restored to us through what Christ did on Calvary. That relationship, so we go every day, like what he did, and him just show you what's happening.
Yes.
Drop the idea. Like,
Into right.
Right, there's going to be a fish, a man going to come to you and say, you need to pay taxes, And he says, okay, just go down there, there's a fish. When you catch him, he has a
Open his
time
mouth.
to pay. Some of the times you think about how awesome God is in terms of, he says, even before you cry out, he'll answer you with the answer. It's like,
I know your need before
Yeah.
you express it.
and he knows, and he gives us the idea. It is he, according to Deuteronomy 8, that gives us the power to get
To
wealth.
create wealth.
And it's the ideas that he gives us that cause us to be wealthy, and we become disciplined and diligent to follow through on these ideas and watch it come to fruition. It's awesome, I'm just sitting down here and reflecting on how awesome God is and how much he wants for us to do well, but we just keep running away from him and doing our own thing.
Good. It's a good thing that he's a faster runner than we could ever be. So we actually can't get away.
Running, but
All right, so it's time now for us to take a look at some of the headlines and close off a number of, well, I don't think we'll close this one off because it is unfolding, but you and I have been looking at the treatment of our workers or Jamaicans or citizens who go overseas and whose involvement in the farm work program is a blessing to the country in terms of the foreign exchange that it generates for us. Most people don't realize that the labor that we export, really that's what we're doing, we're exporting labor. It's not called slavery anymore, though those who have been a part of the program have made some complaints, which we are encouraging the government to take as in more seriously than they take some of the complaints that they ignore. The complaints we make in Jamaica that are ignored, we want them to treat the complaints of the farm workers who are working overseas on various farms in Canada and in America. But Canada has been in the headlines a lot. Big headline this morning: 2,000 farm worker grouses in 5 months.
Thought there were no grosses, according to the minister.
According to the minister.
Nothing, man. I just some man who,
I think
have nothing to do.
One of our callers has been chiding the newspapers, the journalists, time and again, and saying they must go out and get the stories. Well, the Gleaner, the Jamaica Gleaner,
Francis,
requested some information from the overseas office. Now, not the Jamaican overseas office, but they went straight to the Canadians.
And they get it.
And they got some information, enough. They didn't need more, I think, than what they have to make the story. More than 2,000 complaints of abuse or breaches of employment policies have been filed against employers under the Seasonal Agricultural Work Program. This is from the Employment and Social Development Office in Canada. More than 2,000 in 5 months. But of that figure, only 43% resulted in inspections being initiated and action taken. So the overwhelming, well, I would say overwhelming, with these are complaints which are represent breaches of human rights, because the complaints are all about poor working conditions which affect the overall well-being and dignity of these migrant workers. Over an undeclared period, 599 employers under Canada's Temporary Foreign Worker Program or International Mobility Program have been found to be non-compliant and have either been hit with a financial penalty or banned from hiring temporary workers for a time. If I recall, our government said there's about 600 and something farms or employers who are in the program. Maybe some even have more than one farms. And of that, 599 is really 600 have been found to be non-compliant, or they've been fined. Some have been banned. The federal government department would not comment on whether it has launched an investigation into the allegations of abuse reported by Jamaican farm workers on the program, citing, of course, privacy policies. But they have confirmed the existence of over 2,000 farm worker grouses. Okay. We've had Jamaicans saying, we know that there are Jamaicans amongst those complainants. The minister in Jamaica had, of course, dismissed the letter, going on record to say that they visited the farms and the farms were in order. I don't even want to repeat that. Anyway, on Wednesday, Samuda told the Gleaner that a 6-member fact-finding team would leave the island this week to investigate the conditions of workers. The workers have already complained. One of the things that we say in our effort to give victim support in Jamaica, we emphasize that you should not revisit the trauma on the victim by disbelieving their report and causing them to feel as if you don't believe.
Okay. But it has always been there, and I must applaud the persons who brought it to light, that those persons who put together and sent it. And
the letter, you mean the anonymous letter?
It was thrown aside.
Yes. Yeah. And my comment on it, and the reason we're following up on it, is it's really because of the process involved in the minister taking the citizens' complaints seriously. Mm-hmm. That's what is troubling to me about it. There are systems in place, and we know that there'll be breaches and so on from time to time, but when complaints are made by Jamaicans about a system into which we have placed them, and citizens regular citizens need to understand that it is we who have placed them. When the government does something, they do it in our name. We have to take an interest, and if we see that it is not being responded to with justice and expedition, we got to get involved. So we're involved in this one. We're watching it. Let's see what happens with the 6-member team. But I feel for those whose family members have been caught up in it, because workers have died whilst on the program. Workers have been injured. We have seen the tears being reported on. We've heard the complaints, the cries of the family members who don't know what happened to their loved one in foreign country, and there seems to be some uncertainty too on what benefits come to them. Just so you know, it's not just Jamaica alone, it's a regional issue. The seasonal program consists of agreements between Caribbean countries that include Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, and of course Jamaica. So if it is taken seriously and addressed, and I know Jamaica can be a leader in this area, if we treat it seriously, and no doubt we have the largest number of persons in the program, because we, of all those countries called, except for Mexico, we have the largest population of the Caribbean islands. We're the largest. So that's one to watch, one to follow through on, and let's not drop the ball with this one. I see you were drawn to the very, very pained expression. Francois Saint-Just was laid to rest yesterday, or his life was celebrated. It appears his body was cremated, and yes, we're seeing signs of how traumatic it was. Now that, the farewell has been said. Did you attend or no? Because you went to.
No, but I couldn't have.
You went to that conference.
I couldn't have. Just what's coming up and what's on the thing. I heard this yesterday via our lady who's the 2 to 5. I want to just raise it that they found a young lady, a grade 10 student, at Orocabessa High School, unconscious in the bathroom because she had been raped.
When was that?
It broke yesterday, and it's on in the Observer.
On the Observer.
And I'm saying, yes, it's the administrators of the school have confirmed it, but what they're saying is that she cried for help. It's only after somebody went into the bathroom. I said, hold on.
So it is believed to be by school
student,
is this?
They said it was a gentleman who was in a khaki uniform who held a scissors to her head and she smoked. But I said, but where's that student? Is it somebody who is parading as a student, or it was somebody who did that? See there, it's there. It's front page. She cried for help, but no one showed up.
So she was injured? They said the headline says left for dead.
Yeah, she was raped and left for dead. It looked like she was injured. How can this happen
in a school?
Yes.
While they're worrying about the length of the students' skirts and the tightness of the students' pants.
In a school.
The safety of our children.
Yeah. Wow. And then there's dead fish everywhere, say it's Portmore residents. And then of course.
No, you gotta do more with that, with the news report. Come on, Pastor.
With the young lady?
Yes. No, not the young lady. What dead fish? We have an environmental incident. Remember, we come out early in the morning. We have to catch our news as we're sitting here.
Yeah, but let me see if
there's an incident on the shoreline in Portmore.
Yes, they're saying dead fish everywhere. Trying to pull up the thing. Yes, residents of Port are reporting the death of a massive number of fish in the sea as a result of what they believe to be a form of pollutant. Because you can see it. They see.
There's a picture.
Yes, with dead fish. It's a whole that have come to the top of the water. I'm wondering in Edgewater, Portmore, a photo of a section of the sea in the vicinity of Edgewater in Portmore. So stretching from the coast near Port Henderson Road to Edgewater. That's a long stretch, you know.
Well, it has made the printed papers, so that was observed yesterday evening.
Yeah. I'm concerned about the water in Portmore. We can't eat no fish because from Megamart go right round to Port Henderson back road, the water is contaminated. There's dead fish in the water everywhere. We don't understand what is going on. This is not the first time something like this is happening in Portmore. We need help, is the cry. And a male resident says he has seen a similar occurrence 2 other times in the past. About 3 times this happened in the water now. Mullet are dead in the water. You know what mullet is? The fish them come up and gasp for air. When them do that, them are dead, he said. He put it right here. Fish come up, gasp. That means there's something in the water.
There's something, right, cutting off the oxygen supply.
Another male resident was astonished by the sight of dead fish floating around and described it as a sheet spread over the sea. I've never seen anything like that in my life. The whole fish kill is spread like a sheet over the sea, and somebody must be held responsible. This is people's livelihood, and everybody is scared and wondering if the fish we are eating is safe, because obviously the sea is polluted. We believe the pollution is from a major business, but we are not sure exactly which one. Fishermen are complaining because they don't feel anybody is protecting them. This can't just go silent like the other time. Where's the National Environmental and Planning Agency? I called the emergency number and heard a recording said the office was closed, and that was at 5 o'clock p.m. Wow. Efforts to contact NEPA for comment prove futile up to publication time.
Sometimes NEPA behaves like a political party.
What that mean?
Meaning something like that. You should at least have someone available to say it is being investigated. We are awaiting test results. Each time I see efforts to contact prove futile, I'm wondering. Usually that's when people are avoiding making a statement. But something like that can't be NEPA's fault. It's not like when they give permission for something and it turns out to be a disaster. Yeah. You might withhold comment. And an event like that, you must be able to say you have taken steps. You must have a statement on it. When you read that kind of, no comment, very troubling. You must have a communication policy that addresses how you address things, which are going to be of Portmore is a large community of people living there.
Community in the whole of the West Indies. English speaking.
Yeah, so you can't have something like that happen and there's people. Absolutely no comment.
That's a whole lot of people.
Yeah. By the way, if it may comfort you to know that the Gleaner's editor agrees that the question about leaving the Queen should be included in the local government elections. I just took a glance at the editorial. They are agreeing with some other experts' recommendation that
left the king. I know the king.
That's
left
true.
The king.
The king, as far as I'm concerned, yes, we have left the Queen. They're saying delay the vote, the elections for 5 months so you can prepare to include it on the ballot. I don't even think
September 22nd or 23rd.
22nd. I don't even think they need to delay it because I don't believe they've prepared. It's just another question on the ballot. In fact, more people might come out to vote in the general election because of that.
Oh my Lord.
Oh Lord. Okay.
As we talk about what's happening in the society, the Feds attacks inflation with another big hike in rates and expects more. This happens. It's in business and this affects us. They have raised their rate by 3/4 75% of a basis point for a third straight time and signal more large rate hikes to come that will heighten the risk of an eventual recession. This happened in the US yesterday.
Yeah.
And it affects us because our central bank has been doing the same. But I think it is months ago, earlier, when they were putting a lot of money in the system, saying it was continued COVID relief. Some people, commentators were saying, what is going to happen with so much money? You're going to be, inflation is going to be a direct result of it. And they said, don't do that. And so it's all right. It's not serious inflation. It is transitory, but it's not. And it's affecting us. Yeah.
All right, we're taking the 8 o'clock break. Before we go on the break, may I just mention, Wayne has sent me a quick note to say we are to remind people that the UIC is marching from downtown today. I don't know the time.
Ward Theatre.
From the Ward Theatre. What time today?
No, I never catch it time. But
anyway, if you are interested in what the UIC is doing, visit their website or call a friend who is a part of it and take a note of what they're doing and see how you can support them. As my brother Wayne says, we should promote everyone who are striving for a change. UIC is marching from downtown. So, people, you are reminded. Let's go to our 8 o'clock break. When we come back, we'll enter into the segment now with our energy.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved pastor.
So on our chat, I gotta say welcome to Mr. Oh, I saw the name earlier. There's someone who put a note on it, Percy. Yeah, someone I put a note wanting to know if you and I think before we speak. Mr. Walcott. This sounds like such a good Barbadian name.
If we think before we speak.
If we think before we speak. I don't know if he's saying we are flowing effortlessly, which is how I'd like to think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying. But we welcome you. I hadn't seen the name before, honestly, but stick around and see if what we're saying reflects thought. And
I think it does.
And give us a call if you feel that there's something we're missing out on.
Okay.
In the category of things that should never be said, like the one that I just referred to. Here is the Area 1 chief in responding. This is Mr. Clifford Chambers, I think recently installed as Area 1 chief in the West. And he is making a response to that terrible headline story of yesterday.
Yes.
The committee that has oversight of conditions in the prisons reported that the face basins in the prisons are being used are being used as a toilet. Well, toilet is very French, as a latrine. How's
latrine,
that?
yes.
Yes. This is what the gentleman had to say. I cannot accept or deny that the face basins are being used as you describe it there.
Okay.
Whilst I am not saying that what's reported is incorrect, I have examined the report and I have not seen in that report that the face basins are being used for that purpose, which you have mentioned just now. This is him responding to an interview with the Gleaner. One of the things that we are striving to get in our public officials, just a kind of an undiluted,
just talk the truth,
honest talk. Yes. Yes.
We
know that the conditions in the jails are terrible.
Yes.
And we know that it's not the policeman's fault.
No, it's not their fault. It's just
so no need to be sensitive about the awfulness of it. What you need to do is recognize that it should not be in that condition. Absolutely.
And fix it.
And agitate for it to be. You know, you are a newly minted Justice of the Peace, and I know you haven't yet started to do your prison tours, but you have the power when you visit a lockup and see the condition to tell them to release the men.
Yes.
That was being emphasized in, recent media talk concerning how the powers that the JP have, and you see that the Ministry of Justice is emphasizing these powers and talking up the JPs as one of the fundamental pillars in maintaining integrity in the administration of justice. And if the Justice of the Peace goes in and sees that the lockups are in certain conditions, they have the power to say, release the citizen. Yes. These are in relation to citizens who are there, because the lockup is a place where you stay pending charge. It's temporary holding facilities. So the police ought not to be taking a man into custody, have nowhere to put him. That's one. Two, they ought to be charging people and moving them through the system. So if somebody needs to be in a different type of facility, that is done sooner than later. What?
So that is why, remember, I think it was Monday or last week, where two men who were convicted were taking the government, or suing the government for a breach of their constitutional right, because one was 8 years and I think another one was 5 years
or 6
years
awaiting trial
before it finally went to court. Okay. So what you're saying to me is that if you, instead of holding it, just charge him and give him bail if he can get bail.
Charge him, let him get bail if he can, because that's what the Bail Act is about, and move it into trial speedily, so that a decision can be taken that determines where the citizen goes.
What do you think is the delay in moving person to trial? Is it a lack of resources in terms of personnel? What is it?
No, for the most part, when you go, and you can form an opinion on it by just analyzing what you hear when the matters are in court. So what you hear is the file is not ready. Now, why wouldn't a file be ready? A file would not be ready if the police and the prosecutor, who must prepare the evidence and the charge sheet and have the witnesses organized and so on, if there are any impediments, delays in that body of work, then the file can't be ready. And if the file isn't ready, you can't start the trial. So
that is a manpower problem, or is it what is it?
It could be it could be competence and efficiency. I don't think it's manpower, especially in these days when technology has cut out the footwork in so many things. You can telephone people, it's not in the days when you have to go to every witness and hunt him down, and you only have a nickname and nobody have phone and so on. To keep a track of witnesses, fairly simple.
Okay, I've always wondered.
So I think it's efficiency. It's efficiency and
competence.
And competence, yeah. But if you start to look at it at different parts of the system, the lockup, who's in the lockup? Those who are in the lockup are persons awaiting charge, to be questioned, temporary holding, as you know, waiting to go to court, whatever the cause might be. The strategies for minimizing the population in the lockup are fairly simple and straightforward.
Okay. Yeah.
Charge people and put them on bail.
Charge people and put them on.
Don't pick them up until you're in a condition to charge them.
So
because the police can carry out their investigation fairly discreetly, So you don't have to say, "Lord, me have to take him and hold him while I get the case ready," which is illegal. You should only be compromising a person's freedom by imprisoning them if you have good cause. No, flight risk is not in it.
No, flight risk. If they may be at risk if they're still there.
That's not in it either. That is security. If you have to put a policeman by his house, then so be it. You're looking at me, so I know that's something we should dive into a little bit more. The freedom of the citizen is sacred. That is a constitutionally protected right.
Right.
Therefore, if he is to be taken in by the state, he cannot be taken in for his own safety. He would have to voluntarily come in and say, "I need protection." And the place to protect him is not in prison. Place to protect him is in a safe house, or if he's a witness protection, anonymous placement. When you are arresting a citizen, bringing him now into police custody, is no longer a free agent. It must be because you have the quality of information that would lead you to charge him for an offense. So you have the period when you arrest him before you charge him, and that's where the 72 hours come in. You can arrest him, have him to do the question and answer in the presence of his attorney, then you charge him. After you've charged him, he's then entitled to bail. And don't charge him Friday night so he have to stay in jail until Monday. But that's what they do out of just vindictive and malicious behavior. Charge him so that he can be put before a magistrate or a judge, and the question of bail is determined. What you are trying to do is minimize the number of hours that the citizen is in the custody of the police. If the offense is such that he is denied bail, then and that should be like a smaller number of persons. It is not possible that every offense committed in Jamaica, the man must be denied bail. I mean, like now they are considering making bail just about impossible for gun-related offenses. But that is being debated on a separate track. So when you have Area 1 chief, albeit new in the area, but very experienced in jail conditions around Jamaica, because he's not he's assistant commissioner of police. He knows the conditions in the lockups. There's nothing to be cute about it and to be I cannot deny or accept. That tells me now that you're a part of it. Wow. We know what the conditions are, and the police who have to be, around the men and women who are held under such hostile conditions, they should want it to be better, because if you keep people under better conditions, they will behave better, be more respectful, and everybody could have, if one could say, an enjoyable time in the prison. But it would have to be a better working environment for the same policemen.
Okay.
Jail conditions are terrible. Many years ago, when I went on death row to visit, to take instructions, interview someone for whom we were doing an appeal case, I could not believe it when he talked about men sleeping on the concrete. It's either a piece of cardboard or a piece of sponge. That is it.
In jail or in lockup?
In Spanish Town. No, this is permanent now, where you're supposed to have infrastructure.
Oh, jeez. Yep. That was a revelation to you?
Well, I mean, see, actually the first time I was even going into the jail.
Yeah, but I know
into the prison.
It is rough.
Yeah.
Having been to both General Penitentiary and worked at St. Catherine in Toronto, I don't think it is true, and that is why you, as somebody was saying years ago, it was I don't know, it created so much controversy in terms of the fact that we need new prisons, and then it was Trevor, it was Blair, who came and offered it, but
Tony Blair. Trevor Blair is someone different.
I'm trying to remember Tony
Blair.
Right, I give you this, but you have to take back your thing. I said it, and it created a big controversy.
Yes. And but you
even
know that
they're offering it, we as a country should have looked at General Penitentiary, look at St. Catherine. This when you walk in there, them place they're old, they are so old.
Do you remember one of our callers telling us that he had gone there to do something at one on Tower Street or somewhere else, and saw that the very lock on the prison had HRH on it, so they are that old. They are that old.
Mm-hmm. Remember our guest 2 weeks removed, LaSonja Harrison.
Yes, on the front page.
She was on the front page yesterday. She says school juggling textbook, furniture, teacher shortages. So the government has a textbook scheme.
She mentioned it too, that it was inefficient.
And then, but I know for a fact. So when I went to my son's, principal said, we have no books. We haven't received any books. We have no books. In terms of furniture, it wasn't so bad for that school in particular, because they have insisted that the students take care of the furniture, because if every year you have to be expending resources to replace furniture, if the students understand that money could be used to do something else, it's a part of the shifting mindset. And then the teacher shortages. On Sunday, you know what happened? I just took up the Gleaner and says, let me just check the career section to see how many schools are looking for teachers. And I tell you, no lie, many schools were looking for teachers. And I think based on, I just started to do a count, I discovered that on average each school needed about 3 to 5 teachers, whether it was because somebody had gone on leave, or as they indicate, it was a clear vacancy. And there are in excess of 20 odd such advertisements looking for teachers. And 3 times 30 or 5 times 30, just in the paper alone, 90 to 100 teachers.
Wow. And this is just you taking a quick look in one paper.
In one paper.
Yeah.
I'm saying, wow. And I noticed math, the vocational areas were the ones um, on high demand, care vacancies and so on. So it is a real problem.
In the spirit of our free flowing Thursday ethic, I'm gonna raise something that it's in the vein of the wealth of culture of wealth, contemplation. Two things I'm going to raise. One, I see here Earl Brown had put something on the chat advising that one of the Marleys was denied entry into Canada at the Buffalo Fort Erie border crossing. Don't know why, but visa issues, travel related issues for our creative people has been an issue for the longest time. And it is something that I believe that our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Culture need to address in a wholesome way. We know that each country has the right to determine what its policy is regarding matters of immigration and so on. But when the country is your ally, there has to be some kind of understanding and consistency. A lot of our creatives, mostly the Rastafarians, who, even though marijuana is coming out of the doghouse somewhat, but we do have a lot of people who have restrictions on their travel, and the US uses their visa policy to curtail or to inhibit some of the cultural cooperation activities that's a necessary part of the friendship that we share. And I think it's just something that we should put it on the table, give it a higher level of importance. We also have the fact that because some of our free thinkers are opposed to some lifestyle choices that are fundamental to American freedom, like the people who say no to abortion or say no to homosexuality and things that affect gender orientation and so on. Those artists who freely express their views have been victimized and visa pulled and so on and so forth. Yes, several notable artists. And in the meantime, the US music industry continues to feed off of, exploit, and pretty much owns a lot of our intellectual property in our cultural expressions, because we are not there in the market. There people pick up the slack.
Yeah.
Because the demand for the culture is definitely there. It's one of the things I think warrants attention. I don't know why this artist was denied. It might have been something that have nothing to do with who he is and his job and so on, but it just reminded me when I saw it. So thank you, Earl. The second point now is, on social media there had been a post that Family Man, one of the musicians, part of the famous Marley Wailers, his daughter had started a GoFundMe page and had posted a picture of him looking very frail and looked like he was in a hospital bed, and some criticism was coming up concerning, did it have to be done, was it necessary, is he well, is it some kind of stunt? Well, his daughter has spoken on it, and it has made the Gleaner Entertainment page. And I'm mentioning it now because there is enormous wealth in culture, but there is also a culture in guarding and protecting wealth. And this musician who worked and is a part of the huge how do I put it now, enterprise that surrounds Bob Marley and the Wailers, the music of Jamaica, all of that. It seems that he is in a situation of need, such that his daughter posted a picture and set up a GoFundMe page. And she says, she's here saying, there are things that needed to be done. My father is my heartbeat. I came off tour in June. I saw my father. That was at the end of July. Just as I said in my post, I have no shame when it comes to my father. He played both roles in my life, mom and dad, so I owe him nothing but gratitude. And she posted this picture of him because she felt he was in need, and people needed to step up and support. I apologize for hurting everyone's feelings and also to the fans for seeing him like that globally, but trust and believe it's only up from here. I love this man deeply and want the best for him, she stated. Persons were accusing her of doing it for her own benefit. She says no, he's in need of physical therapy and rehabilitation. He has suffered from multiple strokes. Is he in Jamaica, by the way?
He is. It must be. It must be.
Had a minor heart attack and a fall that has now caused him to be bedridden and immobile. He's no longer capable of assisting himself with he has ADLS. He's also incompetent. He suffers from dementia and often loses his memory. I don't have the funds to pay for those medical expenses, and neither do the people who are supposed to be taking care of him. He needs help as soon as possible, and I am asking the public to assist in any way they can to help him get back to good health, even walk again or play his bass. This has been hard for me and difficult to type, but I know being silent doesn't help either, Barrett wrote. And let me tell you, that takes bravery and selflessness to expose the need of your family member like that, because you know that by yourself you can't. Yeah.
And which speaks to with something that we've been talking about in terms of culture and why there needs to be a move by the government to be more proactive in terms of their legislation, because there's so much wealth that has been generated with this cultural thing. To set up a fund that people who in their 80, because they are creatives, they never think about that.
Yeah.
There's only few of them would have looked beyond when they were not playing or practicing or singing, that those people be taken care of.
Well, let me tell you, I bless her for having the boldness to do it, the courage to do it. And she's making it clear that every dime that has been collected has gone straight to the medical facility that is, looking after her father.
That's Dr. Brandon Elmore.
Yes. His name is there. Dr. Brandon Elmore. My dear,
push ahead.
And let me hope that this particular incident will redound to the benefit of others, because like that, there really must be something that we do. So
as a country,
yeah.
We celebrate.
All right, we are at 8:30, and I believe Miss JPS is already here. We're gonna take our break, and then when we return, we'll now switch our attention to matters pertaining to energy. Welcome back. This is the segment in which we are joined by our very knowledgeable and beautiful young guest from. I just love to see her face going in the introduction.
Young guest.
From JPS. Yes, man.
Young part. Me like a part. Hey!
It is such a pleasure to see you, Mrs. Williams. I was trying to call you Miss Williams and Pastor corrected me.
That's fine. Thank you so much, Minette and Percy. Can I call you that?
Absolutely. And if you want to say we're also young, we're up for that too.
We receive that also.
We receive
yes, we
it.
receive it. As long as it's saying young, I take it, I snatch it, regardless of how true it is.
No, but it's a delight to have you. We've been really getting very knowledgeable and I would say personable guests from JPS, and I must say they've kept it up. If they still have more to send us, I'm gonna wonder how JPS is recruiting. But all of your predecessors were fabulous with the contribution they gave. Now you're coming to us this morning. You are the manager of media and PR.
Yes.
But you're not here on a PR stint. You have some heavy news to deliver.
Yeah.
I'll just let you go right into it.
Right, because between yesterday morning and now a lot has changed. So I suppose a lot of our listeners are now aware that there is a system in the Caribbean and it is headed our way. Potentially by weekend, we could have anything ranging from a tropical wave or depression to a low category 1 hurricane. So we want our customers, we want our listeners to prepare. Like we like to say, prepare for the worst, but pray for the best outcome.
Yes.
But we have to prepare for the worst. So at this point in time, one of the things we want our customers and our listeners, everybody, to do is to really take safety very seriously. So the first thing that we want you to do is to consider the trees that are in your premises, whether it's your home or your business. As you know, your trees are your responsibility. And we've been encouraging people, don't let the tree get away from you so that it gets up into the lines and so on. So if you have a tree that you see could pose a problem, now let me just say, and this is very important, if the tree don't get away already, leave it. Do not left it. Please do not try at this stage to cut a tree that already has a line running in. Do not do that, because even under normal circumstances we would not have you do that.
Yes.
If a line is running through your tree, we ask you to call JPS, and we'll make arrangements with you to turn off the power temporarily while you get somebody to, or do it yourself, to cut down the branches and so on, and then we will reconnect your supply.
Are you putting in any additional emergency contact numbers or
contact numbers?
Yes, because persons who look up and see that line is running through the tree, they call JPS, or is what can they do that guarantees quick attention?
All right, so there are a number of ways that you can report something. The first is our mobile app, and it's wonderful. It's very easy to use. You just go in, you report XYZ, I have this problem, and then you have a reference number, which is really great because that helps you to be able to track
it.
your query or your problem, etc. People hate having to call and then tell their whole story all over again to the new person that they're calling when they're following up. All you have to say is my reference number is XYZ.
And
They look it up, and then they are able to track and say, oh, okay, a team has been assigned or whatever the case may be. All right, so you can report something through the mobile app. You can call our customer care center. It's 888-CALL-JPS. That's 888-225-5577. And you need not necessarily speak with somebody either, because it's so automated now that you can just follow the prompts in terms of what it is you need to do. Right?
Yeah.
Also importantly, we're on social media like everybody else. So if you have a problem, you can come to our Facebook or our Twitter pages. That's where we do our customer service. At MyJPS Online is our handle. So go there if you have an issue, type it in. More than likely, we'll just ask you to DM us and we'll handle it from there.
DM us?
Yes,
Damn
direct
you.
message.
Direct message.
Direct message.
So it means now, you know, that if you don't have a phone or you don't have no credit, but you see that there's a problem in your neighborhood, in your yard. The truth is, this is when you mind other people's business.
Yes.
If you see a dangerous situation,
Yes.
just get in touch. Find a way to get in touch.
To get in touch with us.
Right.
There are so many channels.
And then now, for this emergency period, you're putting out emergency crews to do a
Absolutely. So we're mobilizing our crews for greater efficiency during the period. So one of the things we want people to understand, prior to a storm, we conduct a number of exercises, not just simulation exercises, but there are things that we do, like we strategically move materials, because sometimes sections of the island are marooned, depending on how severe the system is. Like we know St. Thomas is famous for that.
Right.
And there are other areas as well, they get cut off. So what we try to do is move materials strategically so that whether we're marooned or not, we can still address the problems
quickly
at hand. Exactly. We mobilize our staff. Our staff all of us become storm riders. We have storm roles. So
storm what?
Riders.
Storm riders.
That's why
go
it's
on
so
the
lean.
But we're not going up. It's not like National Geographic.
Where you go up
We're
there. Storm chasers. They just ride.
But everybody has a role to play when there's a storm. So whether you're an accountant or you're an HR or whatever it is, when storm hit, this is the focus now, right? So we get our entire staff mobilized in that way. Now, when the storm is passing, we can do nothing about it. We know sometimes people call us and say, it just started and my wire pop. No, I'm really sorry. Once it has started, there is no
riding
out. There's no coming out for the crew.
Yes.
It has to pass, and the effects have to go with it. The dampness and the
it has to be settled before.
Then we can come up, because that is strictly a safety issue right there. But let me just tell our folks a little bit about some of the things we want them to have on hand prior to the storm. We want you to have alternative lighting sources like flashlights and so on. People use their cell phone, that's fine. But remember, if your cell phone is anything like my cell phone, it's not going to run 24 hours. So you probably need a power bank or some other source
that is fully charged.
Charge up your phone.
They fully charge up all the power banks now.
And charge up power banks. You have some solar power banks too, you know.
Right.
So if you do have that, that's fantastic. Some people have their emergency bulbs as well. So if they lose power, the bulbs will stay on for like another 46 hours depending on the brand and so on. They're wonderful, right? So we want you to have your light source. We also want you to turn up your refrigerator to the coldest setting, because if you lose power, you're going to want to have those things as cold for as long as possible. If it is that you are on medication that requires refrigeration, what we suggest is you have your igloo. You buy your party ice, or you can set some ice from now, and you put your ice in the igloo, and then you put your medication in a little plastic bag, like maybe an old bread bag or a Ziploc bag if you're inclined. Knot it so you don't get the liquid going in, and you put that in your igloo. That'll buy you a few more days, because you're not going in that unless you're taking
a medication, right?
So that'll buy you some more days should you lose power for an extended period of time. While the storm is going on, if you see, for example, your supply being erratic or whatever it is,
shut it down.
Shut down your appliances, plug them out.
Plug out.
You may also turn off your breaker
Okay.
so that you can stop the power supply from coming into your home. Right. Because if there's a lightning strike, I mean, there's no guarantee in terms of the kind of response that comes from a lightning strike, etc. Right? This is nature. So you just have to do what you need to do to stay safe.
Right.
If you use a generator, make sure that your generator is refueled, ready up, good to go. Do not refuel while the generator is on. I think the generator users know that, but I'm saying it just for the first timers and for people who, just may not know. Please remember too that generators emit a poisonous gas that has no smell whatsoever.
Carbon monoxide.
There we go. So you're sitting down calmly,
so don't keep it in your
you
house.
just knock out. Just so. Every year people die actually in the States from this poisonous gas from the generators. So what we advise people all the time is to have your generator in a well-ventilated area. You're not going to put it in your living room, etc. No. Right? We just want people to know that. You want to have that in a well-ventilated area. Of course, you're going to have your non-perishables. Please don't buy up a heap of things that need refrigeration, like chicken and all those things. You want to go into your non-perishables.
Eat it up.
Eat fast. If you salt it, you can get a few more days out of it too. So you want to have your non-perishable items, your usual tinned products and all the rest of it. I know for those of us who were around after Gilbert, eat corned beef till we're weak.
I know some
Oh
people
my
who
God.
no longer eat corned beef.
That song, though. You can request that song.
Wild Gilbert.
Wild Gilbert,
Oh
Wild
my
Gilbert.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
sir.
Yeah, man, it was a serious time. If you're one of those people who have solar panels, make sure that your panels are well affixed to your roof, because you don't want that to
blow
become
off.
a missile.
The roof take off in a Gilbert.
We don't want that. And dish was a thing.
Dish,
Satellite
yes,
dishes
dish.
went the way of the wind, right? So if you know you have anything on your roof, I see some people stupidly refer to them as roof furniture. If you have any roof furniture,
What's the roof furniture? The solar panel?
panel.
panels or anything else you might have up
Yes.
there, maybe
Roof
a dish.
furniture.
I use dish again, but whatever it is, right? Just make sure it is well secure. If you're not so sure about the security of it, you might want to
Take it down.
remove it, right?
Yeah.
If you have, I know some people lost water drums too big. They were blown off
Oh.
or badly mangled and so on. So you want to have those things down pat. During the storm, you don't want to come outside, because anything that can become a missile could hit you, including sheets of zinc, tree branches,
Loose
and
wires
so on.
that
Loose
are
wires. You don't want to do that.
Flailing in the
So
wind.
let me now run you through
Yes, boy.
the after the hurricane. Now, I'm saying hurricane. We're hoping not. you
After
know.
the tropical
After
depression.
after the system.
The system. After the
has
system.
passed, right? We have a restoration protocol.
Okay, that's JPS score.
Right. And so we know that everybody want power back right away. We completely understand. That's natural. But we do have a structure that we follow. So the first thing that we do is we assess the state of our system itself.
Yes.
Because we can't be just sending out
Sending,
power.
right.
So we want to check, make sure everything is okay
Just
with the
one
power
second
plants.
before.
Sure.
Dependent on the intensity of the system, does JPS go to shut down everything, dependent, or you allow it to ride the storm? That's a question that always has been there.
Exactly. So typically we try not to shut down everything.
Okay.
But if there is a truly severe system which looks as if it's going to create more problems for us to have the system on, then yes, we will shut it down. But that's usually a last resort.
Okay, so it's a last. So you
Right.
look at it, so you have a team that is an implementation team, a team that comes into play in the middle of the system.
Absolutely. That says, guys, we're going to shut it down.
Okay,
This
and that
we're not continuing like this anymore. We're shutting this down.
and you inform all the powers that be, the government,
Sure.
everybody.
So we have ongoing communication.
Has that ever happened?
Not as far as I can recall. I don't think we've had anything as serious as that. Sometimes people lose the power, they think it's just shut it down, but they just lost the power
They just
because
lost power.
lines broke or a pole,
Right, yes,
tree
yeah.
fell on a line and so on. But we have not shut it down. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, and like you said, it really does depend on the severity of the system. So we have not had a system that was so severe that we took the decision to shut down the grid.
The grid.
Okay, all right.
Right. So the first thing we do, we check our own system, our power plants, our substations, our lines, and so on. Once we're good to go, the first order of business are essential services. So your
Hospitals.
hospitals, your water pump, National Water Commission,
Yes.
your airports,
Police stations.
they are certainly very important. Your airports, your communications, like
Yes.
your telecoms,
Telecoms,
because that's
right.
our communication to the world. So that's
Yes.
the first layer, all of your essential services. And your next layer now are critical loads and large population areas. So you're talking about large urban areas, but even if it's not large urban areas, you might have a critical area, like for example, you have a whole lot of major factories. If they're out for
Like
a
on the
week,
port, maybe,
exactly,
where and
exactly
the buildings close to it.
animal feed, bread,
Yes,
food.
food
If
distrib-
they're
right.
down for a week, then we all have a problem, kind of a thing.
Including the
So-
JPS workers.
There we go. So we have to get those up and running, and then the next set are the smaller populated areas, your neighborhoods and so on and so forth. And then finally we come down to pockets. You know, there's a street out, there's a one man, so they're last on the list.
Yes. It's a
So-
democratic system.
Yeah,
Majority and
absolutely.
importance.
Exactly, we go with majority and importance first, and we come right down the line, because you know you have to do the greatest good
For the
first.
largest number of persons.
Exactly,
first,
and then you work your way down to the least consequences. And that's not to say that you and your yard inconsequential at all.
I understand.
But obviously compared to a
Yeah.
hospital, you know.
And that's why it's important for us to have the provisions that are critical in your home throughout the period.
Exactly. That's why you
Yeah.
want to have your non-perishables and your water supply for at least a week. Because remember now, even though the water pumps may be, you know, whatever, not affected by the system, they could be, but maybe not. They certainly will be affected by lack of power.
Yes.
Okay.
To
Yes.
pump the water
Yeah.
to you. So
Right.
you do want to store your water.
Right.
Now, after the storm, also in terms of safety, we don't want you to try and help us like, oh, the wire come down. Let me no, don't help us. Don't help us.
Yes, let me just move it.
No,
Leave
no.
the wires alone.
Leave the wi-
Leave.
Even if you know in your heart that it's not it's not a light wire.
Right,
Some
right.
people are like, no man, it's a cable
It's
wire.
the cable,
It's a
right.
cable. Or is a flow wire. I can't leave it same
Touch
way.
no
That's
wires.
the same way, right? Call us, let us be the ones to tell you.
It's
Right?
cable wire.
Or another utility be the one to tell you that it's actually their wire.
Yes.
You don't decide.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't
Yeah.
touch wires. Don't, and I always say this, but people love to do it anyway. Don't go sightseeing after the hurricane.
To
Nobody want
take
to
pictures
see
and-
what happened up the road, what happened on the road,
Yes.
and so on.
With social
Yeah.
media, everybody
It's-
can't.
oh, man.
Breaking live on
Everybody's a
Facebook for
TV
person-
station.
for person on the road.
Everybody.
Yeah.
But you know, guys, you have debris on the road and
Yeah.
your shoes. Okay, if you're muscle bound, go out on the road, like you know, you have to go check your mom, right? Make sure that your shoe bottom is thick enough for things like broken glass, nails, that sort of thing.
Right,
Yeah? Barbed
yeah.
wire pieces and so on. You want to be sure that when you step out there, you're not actually putting yourself in danger.
in
So we
greater-
ask you not to go sightseeing, but if you really have to go and, you know, do the neighborly, helpful, good Samaritan thing, then you do it with safety. Yeah?
In your yes.
Also, poles likewise, if they're lean or so on, just report it. There's a very good chance that we have a pretty good idea
If you
of
know what
some
has
of the
happened.
damage that has happened. We're not going to say everything because we can't see everything from where we are, which is why people still have to call and say, I have an outage, etc. Right? So we can't see everything. But if you do see something, you can just report it to us. We will probably not come immediately when you want us to come, but we will get around to it. The more severe the system is, the more extended the power outage might be. That's just the nature of it. We saw what happened in our neighbors. You
Puerto
have
Rico.
Puerto Rico. I saw a video this morning where an entire bridge was just moving away.
But it was decided to
and-
take a movement down the road.
And I'm like, but that was outer bounds though. That outer bands rather of the system. That wasn't even the system
yes,
itself. I
yeah.
was like, wow.
So for us, we have to be very careful about the volume of rainfall that tends to follow the outer bands of
Up
the
to 3 to 5
system.
inches of rainfall.
Yeah,
That's what they're
and
projecting.
that also, I mean, we're not just worried about wind activity where rainfall can inundate areas,
Yeah.
landslide.
Exactly.
Um,
And I tell you something, some of the outages that we experience after a system, sometimes they're not just about the system itself, but it's also about the effects afterwards.
After,
So what we have sometimes is waterlogged soil on slopes that go down.
Yes.
And when the slope goes down, it takes
It
everything
pulls
with
the
it.
vegetation
Pole,
with
the
it.
wire, everything.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you might have trees coming down. The line was fine. So, and that's why some people say, but hold on. Storm, I had light. Immediately after, I
No
had
light.
No, and now a day or two,
No
I'm
light.
out of supply.
Yes,
But sometimes
yeah.
what has happened is that vegetation has come down the slope, etc., and has broken wires, etc. So you do have those after effects.
Yeah.
What you can also have is a situation in restoration, and we've seen this. Like people say, but everybody at the top of the road have light, and we at the bottom of the road, and it's the same road. What's up with that? So here's what can happen: they are being fed from two separate sources.
yeah.
So just because the two of you on
We're neighbors.
John Road, and I'm just calling a road. I don't mean John's Road in Spanish, and I just mean any road.
The people
John is a
start
common
call you.
name, right?
Brother John.
You'd better say
Brother.
Minute Road. I'm sure there's none.
No, I don't
no Minute
no, I'm
Road.
sure there is.
There's no
Percy
Minute
Road.
Road or a Percy Road.
Percy Road, yes.
Exactly. So you have folks from number 1 to number 15 who are fed from this source over here, and then from 16 to 30 are fed from another
He's on the
source.
other side.
And they're like,
Yeah.
how can this be? We're all on the same
They
road.
start goes,
But
because they know somebody.
them know
Because they know
somebody.
you. Because they know you.
Or
Because
they
they
just
know you.
work and live there. They live there, and that's why they make the
Because they-
light, and it don't
Because they
fair.
know Audrey.
Lack of trust.
But those are some of
Lack
the
of
things
trust,
that
yeah.
we have seen happen. But you know, one of the things we just ask people to bear with us, the system is designed. It is designed to go down if there is interference with it. And that's a safety mechanism. Because if you have a fault on the line and it's not designed to go down, it can actually cause electrocution.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Well, most persons should know that that's the function of the breaker box in their house. If
So
there's
you
a
do
problem,
wanna-
it going
right.
trip. So
Exactly,
that's
exactly. And one thing we do want to point out too, after the storm, if you smell any smoke or anything in your house that is untoward, don't be in a hurry to turn on back your breaker. You want to get your licensed electrician to come and just check. Just check my wiring, check my system, make sure everything is okay before I turn on back my power supply.
You're saying now that there's a danger that if there's been heavy rainfall and water may have come into your house or into your, and you turn on and you smell something,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
don't persist.
Don't persist.
Yeah.
Don't persist because you
So
may have
people with
suffered some
old
kind
leaky
of damage.
houses.
I don't know why
I
I
know-
know. There and saying that.
I know an old leaky house.
You are an old leaky house. Oh.
I have one.
And
With
when
a
you
lot
can
of
have
wiring.
mansion and all these things, you know.
those are the old leaky houses with wiring in the roof
Okay.
and water. Yeah, will come
Right,
in.
and you know it's not too late either before the storm to just have somebody come and just check and say, check out my thing, check out my wiring and so on.
You know,
Like,
let me
good.
say.
Yeah.
So look
So,
at
yeah.
the somebody who can check it out.
Fabulous. You have help close at hand, literally
Oh,
arm's
Lord.
length.
I'm telling
and
you.
less than arm's length.
Less than arm's
Away.
length.
So
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
that's good.
But those
yeah.
are very important tips, and I know you have managed to deliver them in the most fetching manner. When last I heard the word fetching, it only came to
Long
me
time.
as I saw
but
your
it was a
delivery.
nice word, you know, I
There's
like
a
those
nice word,
words.
fetching delivery, but it's serious
I know, it's
issues.
very-
Yes.
Yeah, serious
Yeah,
issues.
serious
By the way,
issues.
you're getting a whole heap of
Safety
love from
first.
one of our listeners. Earl Brown said, "I just love Mrs. Audrey Williams."
Aw, thank you.
All the way in
Bless
Canada.
Listen,
you.
man.
Wow.
But may I tell you, he also loved the mango.
Oh, but I'll take it. But the mango lice. The mango lice. So I'm good with it. Thank you.
Oh, so
Yes.
yeah, thank you for those tips.
Yes.
You have
Safety
emphasized
first.
safety, and not just
Absolutely.
as regards things electrical, but personal safety. If you go out on the road, wear the right shoes. I thank you for the care and the attention you have given. I'm sure you have done this a time or two before, and survived it. So that's a good sign.
We're still here.
We're still here. That is the first mark that we know what to do. Could you please just repeat what we are to do as we look around and take stock? Here on our show, we emphasize people taking responsibility and getting involved. So if you look around and see the wire running through the tree, and it is a tree that
Right.
that's the one that really caught my attention.
Right. So if you see, and please do not attempt to help yourself, right? You're only going to help yourself
Your machete.
if the tree is not near the wire and you recognize that there's a possibility that it could fall, maybe down the slope, on a line or whatever. But we're not asking anybody, and I have to be like so crystal clear, we're not asking anybody to try and cut any tree near any line, okay? Please. So you're taking personal responsibility for your trees. Look up, and at this point I know I have to put in a plug for my IVM guys. Don't plant trees under lines, okay? I did it, guys.
Trees grow. Trees grow, right.
Exactly. And I mean, when we plant them, we don't think about that because they're just pretty
And
But
small.
Please don't, small, but please don't do that. Look up, see if you see a tree that could be a danger, not just to lines, but to your house, because some trees have actually fallen on people's homes and injured them badly, and in some
Yeah,
cases killed them.
yeah,
So you have to look at that. Look at the tree situation. Also, stock up on your non-perishable items. If you know you're on medication that requires cooling, refrigeration, get your ice. Set your ice, buy your ice, whichever. Put it in your igloo. Put your medication in there in something that is waterproof, a little plastic bag, so that you can buy yourself some days of good medication. It will last you through the period. During the storm, do not go outside. Turn up your fridge. Thank you very much. Turn up your fridge so it's at its coldest setting. Is my time up? Eek!
Almost.
It's at its coldest setting so it can last as long as possible. And if when the storm is raging, if you see like a flickering, anything going on, plug out your appliances. Turn off your breaker. Just wait it out. The storm typically won't last more than a day, you know. It's the aftermath.
Yes,
Right? So
that we all have to live
just for
with.
the day, charge up everything that you know needs charging before. Charge up your cell phone, charge up your laptop, any other device that you know needs electricity. Charge it up. Get your power bank. Get your emergency bulbs. Please do not use open flame. We beg you. Don't use no candle. I know you might have some home sweet home lamps. If you're muscle bound, okay. But we prefer flashlights. We prefer that you have something that does not require any kind of flame. Yeah? So these are some of the tips I want our people to remember and to implement. Hearing is one, doing is another. Please do it as well.
And the mobile app or any of your social media pages.
Absolutely wonderful. Or my JPS
great
mobile
place
app. You can
to make
go
the
on
reports.
Our social media platforms, Facebook or Twitter at my JPS Online. There's also the customer care center at 888 call JPS.
And write down your reference number.
Write it down so you can follow it up.
That is the key to following up on your complaint. It's been a pleasure. I hope we get to see you again after the storm.
Yes.
You can give us some of the storm rider stories.
The storm rider story.
All right, so we got to thank JPS for partnering with us in that segment. We want all of us to be safe throughout this process. And let's say goodbye to Mrs. Williams.
It's Audrey.
No, we can Miss Audrey.
Mrs. Audrey.
Audrey, it's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure, Minette and Percy.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And Lowell.
And Lowell, yes. Engineer, get some love. All right, we'll take our break now. Good morning and welcome back. We're in the final segment of our show almost, and we're joined by family. Alexander the Conqueror, Alexander the Great. Earlier this morning, we were talking about how each of us have a child with Alexander as the middle name. And now we are welcoming to our set none other than Philip Alexander Thomas.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
I was just wondering, why did your parents name you
Alexander?
Well,
Yes.
the thing is, Pastor, I believe my grandfather, Philip Alexander Thomas.
Ah.
So you're the second or the third?
Well, actually,
Skipped a generation.
Exactly. Because
So you're the second.
Right.
You have to do like Prince Charles,
I like it.
He's Prince Charles the third. Prince Charles the second was many years ago. He just picked up where the last great Charles left off.
There you go.
So welcome.
Thank you.
We've got your profile and we know that you are a chemical and industrial engineer,
Yes.
having studied in Florida.
Yes.
So are you a child of the diaspora or just a student?
Just a student.
Just a student. Yeah, you must
of the
go.
diaspora?
Yes, man, you must go and get the learning and bring it back. That's how it
So
should
you're- So
go.
you're both chemical and industrial?
Yes. So my bachelor's, Pastor, is in chemical engineering and master's in industrial and environmental.
Okay. All right.
He's a man of the
Interesting.
season, because in everything that we've been doing and talking about, we have recognized that the children of Jamaica, I mean, you're a little more mature than a child, but we know that our sons and daughters have to be equal to meeting the needs of this time. And the environment is under threat. Our productivity, or use of technology, the level of innovation that we display, all those things are under threat. And it is knowledge that needs to drive us into our place of prosperity. So we welcome you.
What you have said a while ago is, I believe, just so profound and something that resonates with what's on my heart. Because we are all aware, much is happening in the world right now.
That's true.
Yeah.
If we even see a remote war per se like Ukraine affecting energy prices,
Yes.
food
Cost of
prices,
living in
exactly.
Jamaica, right.
And so, what you're mentioning about technology and its application today, I think is most relevant.
Yes, and we're big on food security and we're big on energy conservation.
it.
So you've come on a morning when that is
followed
the
up
focus
GPS
you're
call.
following in the wake of. Can you keep up with Miss Audrey? You saw the track she laid down.
She is amazing.
Yes, it is. All right. So of course the storm has shifted what she was going to talk about initially.
Yep.
To just the ever-present need now to be conscious of safety and so on. We invited you because in previous weeks we had been talking about conservation.
Yes.
And we had been talking about the necessity for Jamaica to get behind the discussion, not just based on the cost of living problems and the price of energy
Yes,
and so
correct,
on,
yes.
but recognizing now that in our own move towards greater productivity and greater self-reliance, we have to have our own position on energy. And you have brought something to the table.
May I-
You see how me laying down the
You are
foundation?
just amazing.
I just want you to run on the track
So
for me now.
This is beautiful. So what has happened is that we have an organization, ISO,
Right.
that I've heard of, International Organization of Standardization, of which our own Bureau of Standards is a member.
Yes.
And why all this comes about is that one of their mandates is to be able to look at technologies that's out there and see, for example, if they want a standard developed. And from 2011, believe it or not, they recognize that, listen, this whole matter of energy is having a focus. Persons are coming up with renewables, persons are coming up with matter of efficiency, and also diversity. And so they're saying, but how can you have a systematic way of approach so that we're not, reinventing the wheel,
Right.
and we're not stumbling over areas to which
Yes.
other persons have done and learned from.
Yes.
They brought together what's called the ISO 50001 program, to which I happened to be invited.
Yes.
It was held in Barbados and got that training. Now, why that is relevant is the following. Much of what is going on in energy, there are a lot of factors. A person will knock on your door systematic and say to themselves, okay, now you need, for example, solar PV. Excellent. Pastor, somebody may say to you, you should be going with LED. It's also correct. Both of them say,
But your
But the-
butt coming.
but the thing is, what if your lighting component is only 1% of what you use?
Will make a major difference.
You are hitting the nail on the head.
That is
So
1% of my cost.
And while now Sister Minutes might be 25%, and she does lighting, and you are competitors, when she has invested wisely, quote unquote, that's not quote unquote, that's real. You having done a very worthwhile effort will not be reaping the benefits. Your margin cannot therefore be as hers, and all of a sudden you're finding in the marketplace that you are not getting the steam that you want.
Not making any money, bottom line.
And so what has happened, viewers and Pastor Minute, Pastor Percival and Sister Minute, is the following. They have realized that the whole matter of energy has to be managed.
Okay.
Not unlike how
Anything
you have your
else.
financial,
True.
human resource, and so too they have said the whole matter of energy comes in play. So let's bring it home a little bit now. Commonly in any industrial plant, you have a whole slew of individuals involved with energy. Let's go through them. The accountant gets the bill.
True.
All right, so that's the first thing. The person in the plant who is the maintenance engineer does what? Deals with equipment.
Correct.
The whole matter of who wants the product coming out of the whole equipment, sales.
Yes.
And marketing.
Thank you. And the production manager who has to report and make sure that everything is in line with the sales forecast has to be able to get those figures out to the respective areas.
Yes.
Now, who is going to champion this whole thing of energy management?
And everybody's demanding something as quickly as
General
possible.
manager.
The general manager says, I'm not necessarily technical
Yes,
at the end
yes.
of the day, but no, let us even go for so we're seeing a resource sitting for which there are many parties involved, each person looking at it from the standpoint of saying, yeah, it looks good, but I'm not taking this on.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I have my own, deliverables. I
Right.
have my own standards. I have my thing to which I need to, meet.
I see exactly why you focus on it from the industrial perspective, because if you can manage that, just like how people do time management, you recognize that you're paying people for time.
Exactly.
So it makes sense that you're managing energy. But I have to ask you, please, because I always speak for the homeowner.
Yes.
You have anything for
You have anything for the house?
Besides she complaining about our GPS.
No, I don't complain anymore.
It's a complaint in terms of the cost of it. I mean, that's what it.
I know, I'm teasing you.
You have your sponsor right here before you. So you have to keep it down.
Oh, we can bring it down. That's what she really wondering.
So let me give it a true story. Now,
Yes.
as in all fairness, we are actually targeting the industrial, the manufacturing, and the commercial enterprise.
Yeah, man, I can
but
see
let
that,
me
the
relay a
utility of
story
that.
concerning what we are done.
Yes,
It was a deaconess house.
yes, yes,
They had a solar system. Well, so they thought.
yes.
So they thought.
Because what had happened is that the actual system had in it an electrical circuit. So once the whole matter of, for example,
Once the
flowers-
load
exactly,
didn't
and
align,
they
it just
have-
pulled from the grid.
but not, but electrical, and you can
Yes.
see where the the conflict came about.
Yes.
And furthermore, Pastor,
I tell
when
you.
you went in, they were using electric stoves.
Oh, wow.
Not a bad thing, But when you consider that they could have used the gas and then be able to save
Right,
almost half
right, yes.
in terms of that going forward. Again, no, but you're hitting on the whole matter of what? Energy management. So let's bring it home. Let's go even further. So we investigated this, and now this is going to be kind of frightening, all right? But we have to. That's the nice thing about being on air. The common metric, meaning the common way of measuring and reporting energy efficiency, it's called energy intensity. It's simply put like you making cars, Sister Minute, you making buildings or whatever structure that you're making.
Yes.
You take the energy, divide it by the number, and bingo, you have
an output,
but
a
the
figure.
thing is, and listeners, here, just bear with me also, that metric in and of itself, without getting too technical, presumes that when you are stopping manufacturing or when Pastor has stopped manufacturing, there is no energy consumption.
But that's not true.
Not of any living
Pastor,
organism.
it looks like we have persons who are going to be championing this cause because you're getting it. And believe it me, many persons don't. So because the base load, take for example, now, you have a factory, you're in the US, okay? Both of you are the same company. And you tell Pastor, saying, Pastor, I heard you need a compressor or you need this piece of equipment. I can send it down to you.
It's working wonders for me.
Wonderful, man. And exactly, because I mean,
cut your costs in
when-
two.
Exactly, buy it. When you get it past the you're like saying, "Good have mercy."
How did the bill go up?
How did the bill go up? No, because
That's my conversation with JPS.
How did the bill go
I
up?
changed everything I did, and how
And what
did
is
it go
happening?
up?
And so the crux is your base load much higher than his.
Yes.
But the number of things you produced is like the break-even economics. Swap that. So the
Yes,
overall,
so the unit cost.
Thank you. So
Yes.
the overall efficiencies that take place after they meet the base load makes her sweet butter and everything. You know, are barely trying to get the base load aspect taken care of. So you're swamped with something that is inflexible, and lo and behold,
Doesn't fit you.
doesn't fit. And so that's why.
So that's your job.
Is the matter of
Oh.
managing the aspect. of
Hired.
managing.
Are we hiring him?
I think we should. Let's get on.
No, what you say makes sense, and pretty much from last week, we've been talking about persons pursuing knowledge as the key to. All right, we're going to say their salvation, for want of a better. When you have the knowledge and you apply it, you can secure your release.
Just a minute.
Yes.
You mentioned. May I just expound on that also, Pastor? You mentioned the knowledge and the element of salvation. Let us track some persons.
Yes.
Daniel,
Darling,
distinguished. Joseph.
darling.
Do you know one
Everything.
of the things, Pastor? Look at it. When Joseph sat down, Mark, he was, I think, very good in PR or whatever you call that.
Oh,
when
right.
he met the king, he said, "We need to find a man who's wise enough and who will be able to do X, Y, and Z, A, B, C." And so the man is laying on a plan. No, let me tell you this: the man is demonstrating what knowledge,
It
and
comes back to that.
application to
Yeah.
the relevant aspect
Issue of the day.
Of the day.
Yeah,
Something like that.
so we're drawn to what you're saying because we see those elements which we have identified as being crucial. And when I understood what you were about, I said let's invite Philip, because we want to move our people from just looking at the bill in perplexity to understanding, well, how can I take control of having a better experience? So you've spoken on the industrial side. You have not mentioned yet how people can access any of these things, and we're not advertising, but I do want persons to know that it exists in Jamaica.
Exactly.
Created, we described you as someone who has innovated and come up with a product that is doing exactly what we're talking about. I would love to know, how readily available are these products? Are there other kinds of products attempting to do the same thing?
Well,
but I think the necessity of it is
exactly.
Is
So let me just quickly give some,
Yeah.
some highlights, even though we're not advertising.
yeah.
We have a company, Sister Mate and Pastor, called Jamaica Broilers.
Yes. Yes.
They, years before, this was...
Did you work with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Consulted with them.
Consulted. Yeah.
And they put some resources to the table when they heard about the idea, and so said, so done, came the whole genesis of Core Watts.
Ah.
But look at how God does things further. When it now came to commercialization, because they have a company and they are with poultry, fair enough? Real Decoy, I don't think he minds my saying his name, Jeff Waddington, from Canada. Hearing as you did,
Yes.
said this is something that we need to get out. And they themselves brought the resources for the whole matter of getting the software together and being able now to bring what we are talking about to market.
To market.
So that no.
So is it
Go
a
ahead.
product that you license?
Some persons may have, I think, even mentioned about the matter of trademark and so on. It hasn't been done, and it's not as if it's not being done for the sake of negligence, but for the sake of
Ubuntu.
well, exactly. But the thing is this:
Yes.
that you remember the story about Polaroid or Kodak?
No. Give me the
let me say
Polaroid
something.
story.
Polaroid had what are you going to call this? What do you call these things? No, not a camera. When you have these things, when you go and you get these things certified and nobody can copy it. Patent.
Patent.
They had a patent for this Instamatic thing. Well, you tell me if it's in the Polaroid cameras, it went out very fast. No, it did. Because what happened?
Yes. That's why I said Ubuntu.
Exactly, because
You hang on to it so tight.
It goes.
It don't catch.
Exactly.
No,
Kodak
but-
now, strange as it may seem, do you realize that they, that's the flip side, invented the digital when digital was coming in?
Ah,
But
so
they kept on to their film, not
Yes.
realizing of what they had. They did not respond to the market, and therefore then Kodak. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that in terms, sometimes you have to be, understanding. Thank you, because Apple almost had a problem until Steve Jobs returned. They kept and they still do.
Oh, that's true, Mac.
Yes. And at one point in time when Jobs left it, they were and then he came back and he said, let's get the act together.
Open it up, man. Let me tell you.
And the whole developer cycle and so on.
Yes.
And so here in,
now they
as
don't
you
have hands to
mentioned,
count money.
with what we're
So
doing
Core
here.
Watts, Apple, I see it.
I like it.
I
love
see
it.
it.
I love it.
Yeah, what you have said is essential, and it is just a part of how we evolve as a society, that we begin to control and understand better the forces that keep us powerful and strong. So Core Watts, if we go online, will we find?
CoreWatts.com.
All right, good.
And
so check it out. Is what I would advise. I'm going to look at it myself. I didn't go online to look at it because
it's an app that somebody can download, or what?
Well, actually, it's not an app. Actually, there's a website, and that has not yet been. And we may do that because and there are certain features for persons to be able to input information and so on, which happens on the website.
Yeah.
So again, that's why I love that might be the next level to which we are going to do.
Right. So on the commercialization of it, in terms of maybe I'm not gonna get curious about your revenue model. There's still some work to be done, but right now you're sensitizing those who are interested. You're sensitizing us to the knowledge that it exists. It has borne fruit elsewhere. Jamaica broilers. I wonder if it helped with the price increase or the price decrease in the chicken.
I don't know, probably, yeah.
It must have, because as you look at your costs and you see where you can give the customer a break.
And we had, just a minute, a successful story recently. I can send you guys the case study.
Yes.
It happened to do with Hypro Ace.
Another Jamaican company. Yeah.
Categorically that, and looking at it, I was like saying commercial, what's a product and so on. They would figures that are not obviously can't disclose.
Right. Yeah.
The percentages of potential savings out of this world.
Yeah.
Again, because there is so much contained in data, and when you're able to use, my lord, yes, Pastor.
We're going to talk about artificial intelligence in the last few minutes of the discussion, because a lot of people are afraid of it. But when we put it in the context of what you're doing, I think there'll be a fresh understanding.
Yes.
I wanted to just go back to you mentioned Hypro Ace. Yes. And you mentioned Jamaica Broilers.
Yes.
These are two phenomenal Jamaican enterprises. I'm kind of curious, because you've worked with them. I'm curious, what is the common factor between those two entities? Why they took a chance with something that is fairly new?
Group of companies. There's this group of companies.
Yes.
Exactly, right.
Something in the leadership must account
there you
for.
go. I remember once Christopher Levy. Now this is interesting, and then you might know about this. Once a year, they hold a Thanksgiving service.
Yeah, man,
This meaning Thanksgiving to God the Father.
Thanksgiving. Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah, not the turkey one.
No. Thank you. You're right. Is that
they
amazing?
do that. Because that's their foundation, actually.
And one of the things I remember Christopher Levy saying, and it boggled my mind, but it demonstrates, I believe, why the Lord prospers the company, was the following. We are here to help out, as it were, starters. I don't know how you put it.
Yes,
Can you imagine a person saying that?
Yes,
A company.
yeah. So they believe in innovation.
Thank you.
And they want
culture.
yeah.
And it's amazing, as you mentioned, even when you started out by saying all of us middle name and the connection there. Because there are persons like a Kemar Smith, a person like a Vade Mirage. They had some persons who all of us had a passion for this whole thing called Internet of Things that were coming up. And you know that Internet of Things is very much affiliated with the whole
We
matter
have
of
a
AI.
passion for it too.
There you go. And so at that moment, it's like God said, no, listen, heaven and earth, alignment time.
Wow.
And it was when something sparks and you don't have to push it, it's like it's self-propelled.
Right time,
Yes.
right time.
Just
And it's
catches,
moving.
yeah.
Somebody says time
Energy.
come.
Remember, energy has
Energy has got knowledge of it.
energy have knowledge and sense of its own.
And so
Let's
here it
see.
is now. The whole, and I like how you put in the slant too, in terms of contributing, because one of the things, it was also brought into international conference, and was accepted, and that's why we actually became part of the U.S. organization SESME, which is devoted to taking cutting-edge technologies and disseminating it throughout the U.S.
How old is this product that you're talking about? Because I'm expecting to see awards being delivered.
So we started out at Jamaica Boilers when everything was moving.
Yes.
2014.
2014.
No, Core Watts came on the market just last year.
Okay, so yes.
So we are, and in between that time, by God's grace, we have been gotten the notice of the great USA Department of Energy.
That's why I asked you, because the moment I hear certain names and I can intuit
But
that
isn't it
it's
amazing
gonna go.
Just a minute, how God works.
Yeah, well, earlier we were talking about it on a much smaller scale. I tell you,
Here
it
it
is.
is. First of all, I put in an abstract, fair enough?
Yes.
To even get the abstract accepted for that panel is
A major.
A major accomplishment.
And that's God.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then following upon that now, the head of my track was the head of SESME.
Okay.
Isn't
All right.
that amazing?
Yes,
set
yes,
up,
yes, yes. And now here you are on the morning connection.
Set him up.
He has been set up. Yes,
Set
yes,
up,
yes,
set up, big
yes.
time.
All right. We want to look at artificial intelligence in the 3 minutes that we have left, and I'm just watching the clock. We're trying to be energy efficient.
I like it. I love it.
Explain the role of artificial
All right.
intelligence
Now, this
in
is
what
good.
you
So
do.
one of the things about AI, you will hear about the neural network. The neural network is the following, Pastor and Sister Minette. You have inputs, all right? And you have outputs. But it is made specifically to mirror the brain. No, Mark, we have finite knowledge. But as so far as we
The
are...
little piece that we know.
Exactly. So they have modules in between. So why it frightens persons is the following. The output, you are not able to actually bring back to the inputs. It is lost in the network.
Just like the brain.
Thank you. But yet, there is quote-unquote an intelligent outcome.
It is consistent.
Thank you.
In its
And
delivery.
it's amazing, therefore, to be able, and that's why persons may say, man, this thing is is it going to control? I think that's a bit far-fetched because, and can I say why because?
Go ahead. I have a
There
because
was
as
a
well.
case in history where some persons were doing something and a master of ceremonies, I'm talking about God here, looked down and said, excuse me, if you think we are going to allow
it.
you to get too
Yes.
far on what you're going to do. So I don't think that we should hold on.
To the fear.
Thank you. Because as far as it is bringing, it's like nuclear power, let's face it. It has benefits in cancer, but it has atomic bomb.
Yes. It
So
can.
there it is. We need, as Christians,
It
to
is-
be able to provide.
It's the heart and the morality
Thank
that
you.
controls it.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
with that, you are 100% correct.
Right. Yeah.
Like with anything, medical science, whatever, we need to be able to say, listen here, these are the limits, but
Ethics of
this
it.
is what we are able to construct.
So let me say something about artificial intelligence that we'll probably be repeating often, but it's worth repeating.
Yes.
A computer is a device that is programmed. So it is limited to the parameters of how you program it. It cannot escape program. The human being, on the other hand, cannot be programmed, or the programmer
Hey.
is not subject to our control. The strength of artificial intelligence is also its weakness. The strength of it is that it will perform consistently 100% of the time based on the fixed parameters. It will not fall asleep. It will not change its parameters on its own. It operates within how you have programmed it. It's also the weakness. If the factors change, if the parameters change in the real world, it don't change in the computer. Right. And so for me, the strength of it is also its weakness. It have to go back to the programmer who must leave a door in it to get in. So I'm glad that you're using artificial intelligence because it will give consistent outputs.
Right.
And it's factored in. One day we'll talk about factoring. So persons understand that factors can be flexible and mutable, but also still within a design. Philip, thank you so much. It's the
been
end
a
of our segment.
pleasure.
If you're able to stay with us for a few more minutes after the break, you're welcome to just
Wonderful.
sit with us.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank you very much, viewers.
We'll be right
All
back.
right.
And we're back. But well, thank you for sticking with us through the break, and we're resuming. We're going to have a general chat with Philip because he used some buzzwords that Pastor and I get excited when we hear people talk kingdom language. So we're just going to chat with Philip a little bit. But before we do that, let me tell you what you can't see: the smell of the breakfast. Pastor, what do you want to say about the smell of the breakfast? Because
I don't know, because I'm hungry. But from about
extra delicious this morning.
no, I'm serious. No, I'm saying, why is it
and
so
it's from
strong?
long
No,
time.
man, yes.
I feel like somebody was cooking.
No, but it's
Sometimes
true.
it didn't even have breakfast smell. It
Yes.
had lunch smell.
Yeah, and I'm saying-
like there was curry goat, or I was smelling oxtail. I'm like, what's
Like
going
saying,
on?
What is this?
This is not even breakfast smell, but no man, some serious cooking going on. So we're giving a shout out to JD's Urban Pub, the local restaurant, the resident restaurant, and they do support us here too. So Philip, you're staying on for breakfast. You will see what they can do.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
They specialize in Jamaican cuisine,
Yeah.
which, as you know, is a fusion of everything of the out of menu. and this morning the breakfast will be accented by a mango.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Earl, we're gonna eat the mango that fell from the tree behind me.
From the
And
heavens, yeah.
yes.
The drop.
And I saw a lady reaping it while we were on set, and even while on set, my hand was out telling her that we
That's
heard
right.
it first.
There we go.
So we're going to enjoy one of the local mangoes. But please remember, if you are in the Kingston area and you want a beautiful, scenic, peaceful location to have lunch or to spend the night, the Ligani Club has excellent rooms, and the restaurant will take care of your culinary needs in royal style. Listen, Pastor, I should have asked Eden to make a call for me in the meantime. There's a report from one of our listeners that Jamaicans are showing up at the banks. I don't know which bank. They say banks in Jamaica are refusing to accept the pound sterling with the Queen on it. I don't know if it
Yeah,
is.
somebody, I heard that.
I don't know if it is a rush of nationalism, and we're starting the referendum early
You mean
by rejecting the
Jamaicans in
Queen.
Britain?
No, in Jamaica.
So if they get in what? Pound?
They say that they're going to the bank to change out their pound sterling, and the bank telling them they don't want it. So someone has asked me to check on it.
Remember they were the
But Pastor,
20
yes,
that they were
Yeah.
pulling, you know.
Alright.
They were exactly.
So let me read it. I'm glad you have experience. You can tell me what the experience is. Delroy says, Miss Lawrence, can you give me a feedback about people with UK currency and having problems to get their cash
That is true,
exchanged with the
yes.
Queen ID? My understanding, the banks by laws don't have to exchange it UK. The rest of it's on a little garbled, but what do you know about this issue,
They
Philip?
had some, either FGB, my bank, had
Yeah.
issued some notices,
About
some
the 20
advisories,
and the $50
exactly,
pound
that they
were
would be
taking them out
withdrawn.
of, so, yeah.
So I think at some point in time,
Yeah.
if the local banks, which can set a timeline,
Yeah.
then you're forced to go to the BOJ.
To Bank of Jamaica,
Yes.
the commercial banks might be so it's commercial. Some of the what do you know about it, Pastor?
There was something in the paper that
Yes.
they were running for a couple of weeks now about the 20 and the $50.
That's
we
correct.
were-
Before the Queen died. If
Before-
you say couple of weeks, it would be before she
Yes,
died.
it was
Before
before
she
that. It
died.
was before.
Right.
It might be
But-
coincidental.
But why would that invalidate the
No,
currency?
because
No,
they
Makes
withdraw
sense.
it out of general.
No, so yeah, let's talk money regulation now and policy. And you and I had an experience. There is sometimes the bills are withdrawn and can only be taken to Bank of Jamaica
Yes.
because they are this general storehouse. Commercial banks have guidelines on the age of currency that they can take, and you always have to take that to the central bank. I had an actual experience where I purchased a note from my commercial bank, took it to a foreign country, and the foreign country rejected it. Every bank rejected it because they said it was too old, but it looked fairly new. When I came back and took it to my commercial bank, they explained to me that they really are not supposed to take from customers notes that's more than, I think they said, 7 years old,
Okay.
because they recycle
Right,
whatever.
Right.
So if it is, you're trying to find the advertisement.
Yeah.
Delroy, there are some notes, I am told reliably, that there are notes which had been withdrawn prior to the Queen's death. It's not because of the Queen's picture on
Exactly,
it.
right.
That's just a coincidence. because the death of an individual does not invalidate the value of the money, and most money have dead people on it anyway. So
All money have dead people on it.
no, we might have one or two that.
No, you
some,
have any money now? That
well, when the Queen money was 2 weeks ago, the Queen was alive.
But all Jamaican money have dead
It's
people.
mostly
on it.
dead
Just
people
don't
on
get your
money.
picture on money, because
You know what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll check on it. I do not think it has anything at all to do with the Queen being dead. All right, that said, let me see what else is going on.
See, there it's correct. In keeping with an ongoing global exercise by the Bank of England to cancel and replace all remaining non-polymer £20 and £50 note, please be advised that Scotiabank will no longer accept these notes effective Monday, September 19, 2022.
And FGB
So a lot of people are doing it. Scotiabank issued a withdrawal, and it came out of the bank.
What was the date of that withdrawal? No, the date of the notice.
The note?
Let me go back. I have to read further.
Anyway, Patrick Howell very helpfully said the assistance of the central bank would be, the issue would better be clarified. But Pastor has found one of the public notifications. This is an exercise starting with Bank of England. It has nothing to do with the Jamaican banks.
The fact that
The fact that the Queen dead.
Exactly.
All right. Lowell, I'm going to let you lead this segment as we chat with Philip, because the Internet of Things is something you and I were working on a lot when we were setting up Carousel, and we were looking at the capability of the network to facilitate this multiplicity of devices speaking to each other and adding to efficiency and productivity. I see you looking like you don't remember.
Well, she just threw me right in there. But
That's lovely. That's lovely. That's lovely.
Tell you?
Throw you in.
Well, I don't know where you want to start.
Anywhere you want to. Pick a
But
spot.
of course, we are in a technological era where everything is now integrated
And connected.
As a matter of fact, Apple is really a great brand.
Yes.
That shows you how all their devices speaks to each other.
Yes.
And on top of that, they are also secure.
Yes.
So well, from you hear me, you know that I have a little bias there. But it speaks to everything else that we do. We're talking about smart cities now, and we also for some time been talking about utilizing even the power lines to carry data.
Yes.
So Philip, I don't know, you as a man who deals with power, you deal with auditing and that kind of thing. Maybe you want to share with us what your take is.
And Brother Lowell, I again, this is just phenomenal in what's being discussed.
Yes.
Because part of the whole matter of Internet of Things and the charge for it has, of course, as you know, to come through the whole matter of government. And where am I coming with this? Not in the sense of, well, let me put it in the sense of legislation, in the sense of standards, in the sense of where
Policy.
we're going. Thank you. That is a huge element, to set the pace of, okay, what is it that we are about? And where is it that we intend to go? Just a minute you talked about the matter of smart cities. What do we define as a smart city? What are we looking for? What are the elements we want to achieve? And then being able to see data. Now, we're not going to be inflexible at some point, but we have to lay a platform, a goal as it were. So at least if there's anything deviating,
where
thank you.
Come back to
and
the
why.
center.
Precisely.
Because you made an important point in terms of government and policy. Why we are here today in Jamaica in terms of telecommunication was because the government took a decision in terms of policy that they were going to deregularize what was happening in telecoms.
Yes.
And it opened the door, took away the monopoly that TOJ had, opened it up so Digicel and the Carousels and the other people could become a part of it. And then we have learned even when Winsome has been on the program, and she says, what we use is not really us, it's government policy, and she named that agency that does that. So you are saying government will set the platforms, government will set the framework that will drive what happens. So they...
Can I give an example?
Yes, go ahead.
California. And I guess you automatically know I'm going with this. California says, for example, listen, we are going to give you a far-reaching miles per gallon.
Yes.
We are going to give you a far-reaching air index. And industry has to what? Match it.
Fall in line.
But you would think that they therefore will be getting less competitive. On the contrary.
No, it gets more. Yes, yes.
And they have become...
It drives innovation and competition.
And they have, in of themselves, become almost a platform of excellence for guess who? The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency,
Yes.
in terms of the standards, and therefore what the entire nation goes toward. Isn't that
Well,
amazing?
it's a simple formula, you know. Innovation comes from the private sector. Regulation comes from government. So if the government sets a regulation that says it needs to rise to that level, society will innovate towards it.
Yeah, but you also need to appreciate that the regulation will come after. So
sometimes it depends on the vision.
Yes.
It depends.
On the vision.
I mean, and we talk
Yes.
about
Yeah.
creating the environment,
Yes.
Yes.
which is different from regulation.
Right.
Yes.
So you create the environment in which people can enter the marketplace and they can compete. They can come with whatever
Innovative ideas
innovative
Yes.
ideas they have, and then when it is getting crowded and when people are toppling over, well, you don't want to get that far, but certainly
you see
that
it
is what the
emerging.
government seeks to prevent,
Yes,
to make sure
yeah.
there's order.
Right.
I like what you're putting it in terms
Yes.
of being able to monitor marketplace, spike the whole matter,
Correct.
and being able to see where we're going and in
Correct.
accordance with certain
Like the
principles
internet.
and guidelines.
Much of the internet is still
Yeah,
unregulated. And thank God. If not, a lot of the value-added products and so on that come to the market would never make it.
And again, no, if I may, I?
Sure.
So the other thing about this, however, is the platform of what is the value added. Because let me give an example. When John F. Kennedy, I believe it was, mentioned the moon, it's sparked that might be one of the reasons why we have internet and all this matter of what we're talking about.
So how we going to communicate with them up
Hey.
there?
So in other words, and you mentioned, somebody mentioned the word vision.
Yes.
In being able to say, okay, now we have this, and if the vision is not extensive, it
Yes.
can actually be limiting.
Of course,
the
you're
possibility.
limited, but the
Yeah.
vision sets the
Yeah.
parameter. That again is coding and programming. If the vision's small, then everything
Exactly,
going to
system-
be small
exactly.
up under it.
So
Go ahead,
you see, we are in a situation now where we need to change the Jamaican psyche, because we have a tendency to sit and wait for government to do things. You know,
more
we are
entrepreneurial.
putting our hands out to the government to do things, and we need to change that. And we also need to change the psyche of the government that is pretty much kind of holding, the
Paternalistic.
choice. Yeah, the choice things for the top 5% or the
That
top
can be the
2%.
problem.
That
And
is the
these are
problem.
things we
That's
need
the
to
problem.
address.
Yeah, my pet peeve has been the government should create an environment that every Jamaican, whether you come from money, stock, or you don't have no money at all, there's an environment that says you can become innovative and entrepreneurial, and you set the boundary that everybody, in terms of your educational system,
Yes.
receive a quality of an education
Yes.
that they feel that they can go out and make work for themselves instead of working for somebody.
And if you look at it, you look in the creative industry,
Yes.
you see what is happening
Yeah.
there. It's not the rich that rise to the top.
Mhm.
It's the same man in the ghetto
Wow.
who, because he's
The man
singing
who
because
struggled
of
because
whatever
he
is
didn't have
happening
it.
in his circumstances, and he eventually rises to the top. So you see, there's creativity down there, and we need to kind of nurture that and get it to the fore so that the country can benefit from these people, because there are a lot of people out there right now who don't have an outlet for the kind of creativity that is within them.
That's what
Yeah.
John Andre
Yeah.
spoke to. Remember when he
Yes,
came and
yes,
spoke
yes.
about that?
Yes.
About
So
the
like
government
father, like
sector.
son, like father.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
yes, yes,
John Andre
yeah.
spoke to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That you need to set up a place that you are enabling that creative energy. Government adds the environment, but the support to facilitate
Yes.
all those young artists. And there's a place you go, you get studio time.
Well-
and then after a time, you are able to
being able
move
to-
beyond that. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna prophesy on Philip. When Philip's product hits the high watermark, it's like how the German engineer set up the World Economic Forum.
That gentleman.
That man there who set up the World Economic Forum, when he had made his billions and wanted to impact things significantly, we're gonna come back to you for
Sister
some
Minette.
money.
Control.
And viewers,
Yes. You're making the commitment? You're saying,
no,
yes, I will?
But you're hitting some things every time that just gets something inside me. Let's talk. May I mention a name here?
Yes.
Dr. William Edward Deming. Let me give you his story quickly. He went years past, to some American. It's on Wikipedia. Went to some American car manufacturers and said, "Listen, I want to help you with the total quality." We know this. We know it, man. You're not talking to the right audience.
Went to Japan.
You know it. Went to Japan. And Japan, as you know, still had the throes of what? World War II, and said, "Come help us." Press the fast forward button for those who are, know about fast forward button. And then come to the ability to say, "Listen here. Parking lot, system in it, Pastor, Brother Loyal." And there are cars on the lot. And persons are seeing the Japanese, same model car, same model car. Some cars have Japanese engines, fair enough?
Yes.
They were made in Japan or whatever.
Right.
And the
Yes.
American ones, American engine. And they find that the American ones not selling. And the Japanese selling.
Hot bread.
And how in the world do people know that? I don't know, but the fact they find that. So they reverse engineer the cars with the Japanese components. The tolerance was amazingly out
Total
of the
quality.
Total quality. So where I'm coming from with this,
Yes.
when you prophesy concerning the whole matter of what we're saying, it is God has demonstrated
There's a pattern for it already.
Oh, yes.
that, and why it comes down to
Yeah.
what we talk about in terms of regulation. Why? Because when you hit certain buttons, and of course when it's tying in with God has done seasonally, as you mentioned, God setting up. My God, it's like okay, let's put it on, let me say again. Do you realize, hear my heart on this, to say what we're talking about here,
Yes.
and where God can move and when he moves. When Joseph said 7 years famine and 7 years plenty, watch this. He had said, one fifth is to be put away.
To put in
Good?
storage.
Now,
Yeah.
1/5 of 1 year's regular is not going to take care of 7 years famine. So it means that whatever the abundance of those years, 1/5 could make up about what? At least 1 year for the you get
Yes,
what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes, yes,
Plus
yes.
meet the present demands.
Yes.
So what we are saying is God is able, more than able, to what you are doing, take maybe a simple, explode it, and then being able to manifest his glory.
Yep.
That's the power of our
And
God.
Yes. We talked
Kingdom
about the
principles.
multiplication.
Kingdom
Yes.
principles.
That's an.
It's interesting. Some years ago, I went in business with a friend, no deceased. And I remember I said to him, "Listen, early days of the business, this is what we'll do. We'll take 10% of everything that we earn and just set it aside." And you know that the partnership broke up over that.
different
It
vision
did.
altogether.
I explained, I said, "Listen, no, this is a principle that if you apply it, trust me, later down the road, that is your fund that will now expand the business and do all the other things that you want to do. But just make it a habit to just take 10% of what you have. And we just set it aside in a fund." Well, what can I tell you? The business was history.
So
Yeah.
I want to put something, if I may, because on based again on what Brother Lola is mentioning. Hear my heart now on this. Partnership means partnership, agreed?
Yes.
This is a
Yes.
question from me now. I'm private sector. Let's hear my heart.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the persons did not see the vision, agreed?
Right.
Yes.
No,
Correct.
no. I want to ask learned persons on this panel. Don't get me wrong, our system, which accommodates variety, accommodates spontaneity,
Like this moment.
there we go, and diversity of ideas, conducive to the development of God. And hear my heart on this now. Just hear my heart on this. We're dealing with because Joseph was very firm. Joseph was firm. And all I'm saying is this now. We can't divorce what God is doing in our nation, agreed?
True.
But there's an element according to what you just said a while ago. Here was an excellent idea. And you know it is an idea, excellent. And because of the system, here where I'm extrapolating it, you get where I'm coming from. It was what? And who knows what that partnership could have done for us as a nation right today?
There you go.
Sister Minute, I see you thinking, but it might not be something we want to answer me the views. But you get the point I'm making? How do we?
No, I thought you were
accommodate-
accepting my suggestion.
Of course.
That when you ascend to heights of great wealth,
No, no.
it sounds like
Can I tell you? I think this is a good point to just pause. I won't say cut it
Yes,
because we will have
we'll
a part
continue
two.
it over
Continue
breakfast.
over
We
breakfast.
are gonna be sharing
This is
some more
rich, this
off
is rich.
camera. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
very
right.
much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
So,
Producer,
hand
for weighing
over
in.
to our host.
Yes. So we do the usual. I want to end with a little bit of a joke because Conrad caught us. Well, you know, Conrad is an engineer in his own right. Conrad say, "Turn up the fridge." No, people turn down the thermostat to the lowest setting.
Oh, that's what you mean. That's, it should turn up.
In
the
fact,
fridge.
I think she might have said turn it to the up to the coldest setting.
which is the
But
lowest.
yes, please do not turn up your fridge
right.
Turn
to
it
a
up.
higher number of anything.
Turn
When
it
you
to
want to
the
get
lowest.
colder, it goes lower.
Yeah.
It's one of the ways that
The
Jamaicans
Jamaican
speak.
and turn up the
Turn
thing.
it up.
Turn up the pressure upon them. You increase
Oh
it, but
gosh,
yeah.
let me say
I
thanks.
say good bad.
Oh
is
yeah,
the same,
yeah.
it's a good bad.
All right, good. So that's Jamaican English for you. What did I say to you yesterday about levity? Asking something about levity, and I was saying it's levity. It is a take off the word levity, which means lighthearted, joyous. And if you want good levity, you gotta introduce some levity. So that was the levity of the day. Thank you all very much on air, online, and of course those who dropped in studio and made the morning's exchange so wonderful. Thursday is Morning Connections Friday. So
Yes.
our weekend begins, and we hope that you all have a blessed and restful weekend too. Remember, storm a come, so no tree cutting and any of the adventures that we like to get up to. Do your best to make sure your families are safe, and
I
we'll
just-
see
and
you
I
on
just
the other
speak into
side.
Speaking to the atmosphere, will
Yes.
remain a tropical depression. No elevation.
A little water, but not too much.
No, so-
Later on, we'll get very specific with the prayer requests. But
Yeah,
for
man.
the moment,
That's
we
what
just
it
wish
is.
you well. Thank you again, Philip. It's been such a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much. Thank
And to the crew in the house and back in studio, we say thank you and have a blessed weekend. The Morning Connection, gone at them yard.